The December 4th, 2025 Des Moines City Council Committee of the Whole is now called to order. We are now currently operating under a Committee of the Whole model for a little while longer until the council makes a firm decision, but that means we have all of our committees combined together for this meeting. And let's see, what else do I have here to talk about? Anyway, the purpose of this is to offer education, briefings, input to the staff, back and forth between the staff and the council. It's not a time for public interaction, and there's no formal action expected during this meeting. Please note that all council members are in attendance tonight, but council members Nutting and Mahoney are both joining us remotely. And that's all for the introduction. We will open the Committee of the Whole with the first item being the Wesley Master Plan. The purpose of this item is to introduce an amendment that will be the subject of a public hearing regarding the Wesley campus on December 11th. We have a presentation from our senior planner, Jason Woike. Hi, Jason.
Hi. Good evening, Council, Mayor. Is this the first slide? That's fine. Tonight's presentation, I'm here to present on the Wesley Master Plan, and it's an introduction. It's for informational purposes only, intended as an introduction to next week's public hearing and master plan decision that will be brought to you. Master plan, what is a master plan? It's to define development, typically on larger properties, with some flexibility, providing flexibility, and also to ensure compatibility with surrounding areas. This is the proposed Wesley Master Plan Amendment. As you can see here, 216th runs east-west, left and right at the bottom there, and this is just to the north of us, just north of 216th. You can see Wesley Terrace building to the left, as well as the existing terrace cottages. To the right is where the existing vacant Wesley Healthcare Center is. And as you can see, the Creekside proposed building. To the north of the Creekside building in white is will be a new maintenance building. To the left of that, above the terrace building, are some new proposed carports. Also proposed with this Wesley Plan amendment, Master Plan amendment, is a garage within the Creekside building with 106 parking spaces, landscaping with 110 trees approximately, recreation areas that include pickleball court, bocce ball court, barbecue area, dog run, and walking paths. Now this proposed amendment is an amendment to a 2015 approved master plan for what is to the west of City Hall, all that new development for Wesley Homes. This is the south elevation of the new Creekside building that we're discussing. Basically standing in the parking lot north of 216th. It'll be 5 stories tall, maximum 65 feet in height, which is the maximum allowed. Next slide, you have several other elevations of the building, as well as a typical floor plan. This will be what the maintenance building looks like. just north of the Creekside building. And after all is said and done, with the Creekside building built out with 106 independent living units, there will be a total for the whole Wesley campus, Wesley Homes campus, 497 independent living units, 50 assisted living units, 26 memory care units, and 72 skilled nursing facility units. So that was a brief introduction to the master plan and decision that will be coming to you next week in a public hearing format. And would like to answer any questions you may have. I don't know if I'll be able to answer them tonight, but we can bring them to you next week, as well as any data, and possibly before the meeting. We can provide that.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and then Councilmember Harris.
The skilled nursing units that you said, are those individual rooms or are those beds? Generally, skilled nursing beds are what's licensed by the state, and do you know?
I don't know for sure, but I believe they're actual units. They list them as units, but I can't say for sure. That was part of the previous master plan approved and already built, phases 1 through 3. And this, what we're talking about next week, will be an amendment to that. Everything to the north, except for the existing terrace building.
And Jason, will we have the applicant here next week so they're able to answer questions as well?
They will be, yes. They requested to do a presentation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any sense of just SEPA and tree replacement and impermeable surface versus what it is now?
Yes, we do. As far as trees, my understanding.
I'm not trying to blindside you. I just
No.
for next week.
Right.
Pretty groovy.
I know they're planting. They say 110 trees. I think that's approximate, but over 100 trees. And because there's an existing building there now, I don't see many trees being removed. As far as impervious surface, there will be less. Application was reviewed by Surface Water Management Division, and my understanding is that there will be less impervious surface and less of an impact on drainage.
Okay. I'm just mindful as to the quality. I mean, in other words, I get feedback all the time about it's not just the quality of the quantity of the trees, but the quality. And is there any arborist involved in this kind of thing?
There is a landscape plan. It should be an arborist. Yes. It was designed. I'll have to follow up for sure.
Yeah,
but I know there's a landscape plan.
I'm just saying that it's next to the creek, and it's sort of a thing that people ask about. And Wesley are lovely partners, and we should consider everything along that area with the same eye. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Oxiger.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, do we have either a cost, an estimate on what the cost of this is going to be, and also do we have a timeline?
I don't have a cost.
Okay.
Might be out there, but I can't think of it. Timeline, last I heard, they want to demo the existing building in March. They want to get going as soon as possible. So this summer, they're looking at building. It's coming.
So is the value of this project going to put it into our one-time only?
It was included in the 2026. No, it's been included 27. I think we captured the 26. Sorry, I'm getting all my year. We just talked about 27, 28. It is being factored into next year's budget, whatever calendar year that may be.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a follow-up question to that really quickly. So then when we get our revenue from that that one time over 15 million, that's the initiation of a project, not the completion of a project? I made the assumption that we didn't get that revenue until the project was complete.
If you're talking about all the fees we collect, we get it at the issuance of the building permit, so it's not when it's complete. It would be when it's issued. So it's not at the end of the whole project, but at the end of the land use.
Are you talking about the sales tax
Yeah.
of the construction materials?
Yes,
Okay, so
that was
has
a
not-
one-time.
So that has not been factored into.
Okay, is that what you were asking, the one-time sales tax?
Okay, we have factored, though, the receipt of the fees that they're gonna pay for permitting and things
Gotcha.
like that, because those are also one-time and pretty significant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to check in with council members Mahoney and Nutting. No? Jeremy? No? Okay.
Good, thank you.
So completion looks like it's going to be, okay, so my questions are, completion looks to be, what, 2027 then? Or 2028?
I think that would be best for the applicant to answer,
Yeah,
because there's gonna be demolition of the existing structure. So I think timing and sequencing, we can let them go through next
Okay.
week with you.
And so this was an amendment or an addition to their master plan? They're tearing down, when you said there's less permeable surface, so the footprint of this building is going to be less than the care facility that's there?
I'm not sure the building itself, but maybe some of the hardscapes,
Gotcha.
everything in total, including pavement, courts, and so forth.
Okay. Well, I thought that was interesting. That's all I had. Okay, looks like we're good. Thanks, Jason.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, did you have something, Harry?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
All right, so next up is our city currents discussion. The purpose of this item is to provide an update to the City Council regarding the in-house publication of City Currents magazine, and we're going to receive a presentation from Bonnie Wilkins.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Bonnie Wilkins, the Director of Administrative Services, and I'm just here to give you a brief update of our in-house production of City Currents scheduled to start in early 2026. A little background, on September 25th, Council directed staff to evaluate options to provide an in-house production of the magazine. Currently, the model is 32 pages, and we have, in your packet, there was a mock-up. It's real rough, so please no judging. Just paring it down to what kind of is more in timeline, right? So a lot of our City Currents information is either Park and Rec or community events information or past information. So we tried to get it to be current information, a lot of CES programming, perhaps what's happening in a special event, something from the city manager, the mayor, something like that. So with that, we were able to get it down to 12 pages instead of 32 by taking out a lot of the advertisements and things like that. Our reason for this is, of course, rising costs of production, trying to save a few dollars here and there where we can. And again, like I said, our first edition will start in spring of 2026. It will still be released quarterly like it is now. We are still kind of staying on that same trajectory of winter, spring, summer, and fall. We will, as we have been doing, writing all of our content internally. So as it is now, we write all our content internally, turn it over to our production company. They lay it all out, send it to the printer, and it's printed from there. So we're kind of eliminating that middleman, so to speak. We're doing all of that as we are now. We're just going to be laying it out ourselves and then sending it to the printer for printing. It still is going to be directly mailed to all the homes here in Des Moines. And we do have a little bit of a buffer. We hit Normandy Park and a little bit up on Pacific Highway across into Kent because, as you know, that Sawtooth borderline, there's a lot of people who go to Parkside that live in Kent. So we try to hit those neighborhoods as well. So everything's staying the same. We will continue having our digital copy on our website. And, should council choose at some point to go more digital, we certainly can entertain that idea as well. But right now, it's still going to be printed and on our web for everybody to access. We've looked at partnership options and models in advertising. So we reached out to the Pool District, or they reached out to us, I can't remember actually. Yeah, they reached out to us and kind of talked about that. And so they're interested in 3 pages. Haven't heard if that's firmed up yet or not, but we do have the capacity to offer them 3 pages for a portion of that production cost. So it would be a little bit of savings to us and would be helpful for them to get their advertisements out there. In addition, we would still, if we had availability, reach out to our nonprofits and offer them a portion of the magazine for, of course, a small fee as well. I think it would actually be cheaper than what they are paying through the other company. So I think we can offer them a little bit of a reduction if we had the space available. Like I mentioned, it would be focused on our community enrichment services, classes, programs, or special events, which it currently does today. Updates on key city programs, things that are happening that we know that are coming up, that we can get the word out ahead of time through that medium, as well as our website and Facebook posts and things like that. Surveys, focus groups, we've done that in the past. We've had surveys in our magazine. We can still continue to do that as well, space availability, or QR codes, or website instructions, things like that. And like I mentioned, periodic information from the mayor, the city manager, police chief, or whatever's coming up for that particular time frame. We think we're going to save approximately 40 to 45, perhaps even 50,000, depending. It's all really driven by the page number, how much we can possibly get in, advertisements, and if we do want to pare down our route at all, that would also be a little bit of a savings. It's the postage is kind of actually the bigger cost here than it is producing it through this model that we're doing currently. And as it has been doing, maintains a strong communication tool for our population. Some really love that magazine a lot and look forward to it every quarter. So it would still be the same. It would just be less advertisements, I think. And that's pretty much my presentation. Any questions?
Okay, Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you for the presentation. I know that when you outsource something, you hope to save staff time, and then when you bring it back, you know that it's going to be right back on the staff where it started. Although I never feel like outsourcing completely gets away from taking up staff time, but I'm hoping that there is support and that perhaps the work will be shared among staff, or what that model would be to make sure that it's something that can be supported.
Absolutely. Currently, as it is, departments do provide the input information to me as it is. So Community Enrichment Services, they put together all of their classes and programming, and then they give it to me. I would go through it, read it, edit it, things like that, before I send it off to the production company. So it would still be, they'd still be providing me the information, and I'd still be doing the same thing, only I would be laying it out in a format on a program.
I think initially it'll be a significant amount of work on Bonnie to set up that template. Sure. And so that's why we're hoping tonight to sort of hear from you all if there's any things you would like to see. Like, now's our time to redesign it, right? So if there's things you'd like to see, or I wish we presented it that way, we'd love to hear that tonight. Because she'll be spending a lot of time really in January and February, but then hopefully it should not be too bad. But you are right, this is definitely adding to her workload.
Thank you. Yeah.
Councilmember Harris.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you. And as with a lot of things this year, this is an experiment. And people will cut you a lot of slack because, Rev 1 and everything. I'm that old guy. I like the ones from the 90s. I mean, the two-color things and everything. They were very informative. And so anyway, do you know what the cost, the postage is going to be, roughly?
Well, roughly right now we pay about $6,000 an issue, or a quarter for postage. I mean, if we do cut the route down a bit, I think we get down to about $4,500 to $5,000, depending. And it doesn't really. When I say cut it down, we print a lot and we send out a lot. We don't have to hit certain neighborhoods if we don't want to. So it's really up to whatever you guys want to do, but we can reduce it or we can keep it where it's at.
No, don't get me wrong. It's like, it's the greatest thing since Tolstoy. It's just that when I go by the post office.
Yes, there's a million of them there.
And so I had hoped that you would develop some sort of design where at some point, when you say $6,000, I'm assuming that somebody, does the third class sorting and all that stuff to get the, but I would hope there was some sort of model where we could generate it for the people who want it, efficiently enough, and you could put links into it so that it could just be attached to the city manager's lovely weekly reports and so forth, and just move it more to something. But it's got to be something that's easy.
Right.
Because that's actually the thing I'm mindful of, is just it becoming this kind of InDesign time sync kind of a thing, people get, anyway, it's a lovely idea, and I hope whatever you come up with can be something that that is migratable, if that's a word, to a truly digital distribution, rather than being dependent on the print service, like for everything. Because, I know some people are in love with it, but that's probably 1,000 people.
Right.
And somehow we should, be mindful of that. Just down the road. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I have no idea how cost-effective this might be, but who's ever doing the mailing of it, are they just working off their own list, or are we providing a list? And if we are providing a list, is there a way for people to opt out as part of that transition to what Councilmember Harris was talking about?
It's sent out through bulk mail, so pretty much the post office directs all that. And so they do hit every household and every P.O. box. And you're right, Councilmember Harris, many years ago, we'd go up there when I was in Park and Rec and grab all that we could to take them back to the field house because, they were just sitting up there. But, and they'll take them to apartment complexes and condos, and they'll either put them in each individual box or they'll just leave a stack sitting there. So we can't direct them what to do with them. There's like 23,000 households here in Des Moines, so I don't know that we have the capacity to build a 23,000 household mailing list, but it's really the post office directs all that.
Yeah, just checking.
I know. It's all laid out by, zip codes. 98198, of course, is being the biggest. There's 98148, 98168, and all that stuff, but we could eliminate those, but that's just such a small portion.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Mahoney.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So, couple things. I would love to see a calendar in the currents, something that very easily reads, that gets all our events and some of the community events on there. That's pretty simple. Maybe just a calendar somebody could tear the page and put on the refrigerator. And as far as mailing, especially when I was mayor, I got a lot of feedback from people that don't have social media, aren't tied to Facebook or emails or any of those kind of things, and that was their information from the city. I think it's very important we maintain and continue all residents. It gives us the best chance to get our message and what's going on to all people. So I would recommend we not deter from like reducing zip codes or cutting out particular people. There's a lot more people that read the book than was claimed, I can tell you, and I assure you, just based on the feedback I received. Thank you.
Thank you. We can put a calendar in there.
Councilmember Oxiger.
This is probably a case of having a little bit of information and not sure what I'm doing. So when you say bulk mail, we're sending it out bulk mail now, or are we sending it out carrier sort?
Bulk mail.
Okay.
Well, maybe you call it that. I call it something. I don't know.
We're doing carrier sort?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so in other words, it just goes out to everybody.
It goes out to everybody.
But if we did bulk mail and we gave people the opportunity to opt out, then it's just a threshold that you have to meet. That, you see what I'm saying? You're sending out fewer copies. So I guess it's a question of whether, if we do want to go to the ability to opt out, we would probably want to start sending it out bulk mail rather than sending it out carrier sort.
Have we ever done a cost estimate on that?
No.
Because I think what we're doing now is the cheapest.
It is the cheapest.
Carrier sort is the cheapest.
It is the cheapest, yeah. And way long time ago, we did as well bulk mail. So when I was in Park and Recreation, we did whatever, I call it bulk mail, but obviously it's something different. But, and then we had a supplemental mailing list that we sent out. We do like, I don't know, 3,500 additional, and we'd have to sort them by zip code and what have you, take them down to the bulk mail center off of, down there, East Marginal or wherever that's at, and do it that way. So we've done that before in the past. I don't know what the difference is. We are doing it, I believe, the most cost-effective way.
Okay, well, all I'm saying is, if we do give the opt-out option, we should take a look at possibly changing the distribution.
I can contact the post office. and-
Yeah, we can look at that. I mean, I wonder, I don't know well enough what the cost increase would be to do bulk mail and whether or not people opting out would save us anything or add more, but we can look into that.
I can look into that.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. It sounds like, though, that right now, you provide a number of copies to the post office and they manage the distribution. And it seems to me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, that if we went to an opt-in, opt-out, then someone on staff would need to manage a mailing list. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yes.
That's why I will research that out with the post office, but I do believe in my past
Sure.
life, a while ago, that's
Right.
how we did it. And yes, we had to. have
And one of the advantages, and or maybe you can tell me if you see it as an advantage. Let's say you live in an apartment complex on Kent Des Moines Road, and you decide to opt out so it doesn't go to your address, but you move 9 months later. Then that address is not going to get a subscription or a quarterly magazine, and so we'll lose that address unless someone seeks us out to try and subscribe. So I think the number of places that receive it might plummet. And so we're talking about adding staff time, managing a list, perhaps paying more postage, and then less people getting the magazine as a potential.
Sounds about right.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Mahoney, do you still have your hand up?
I do.
Okay, so
I
I'm
was-
going to call on Councilmember Harris first, and then you go.
Okay.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah. Speaking as that low-rent candidate who's wrapped the rubber bands, I'm very sympathetic to, but it would be great if we could get to see how it renders on a mobile phone. And I will just stress, regardless of the print, that we have some kind of live links so that over time we can do surveys and find out what we're capturing. The pre-sort, the carrier thing is onerous to say the least, but you know, if it turns out that this is the kind of thing where we're asking these questions about something we can't know for like a year, but I want to be able to, speaking the royal we, I think we should be able to capture how people are actually using it in a way that we haven't. I just go up and down the city and see the stuff, and I always wonder, and we're all wondering here about that, and if we can put in a tool that finally puts that to rest, that would be helpful. So, thank you.
Can I get clarification on what you mean by live links? You mean like a digital copy online that has live links so we can say, oh, 1,000 people clicked on it? Is that what you mean by that?
I mean, if somebody opens it on their phone, we can capture that. If they open it on their PC, and we can do a survey so that, hey, did you open it on your thing, or did you, you just want to know your reach, and it's something that
We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brain is clicking away.
And just to clarify, it is available on a phone. You tap it, and it has that little page sound, and it flips the pages. So right now, it does do a nice phone application. Okay.
Yes, and I believe that feature will still stay with our.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know that we can tell how many people go there, but we'll see if we can figure that out.
Okay, thanks. Councilmember Mahoney.
God, you guys just take the words out of my mouth. Completely agree with Councilmember Grace Matsui. You can't eliminate addresses because the people not knowing how to get back and reapply for it, they're not even going to know it exists, unfortunately, in a lot of cases. And I was just going to say, I was just looking at it my phone right now and have before. It works like a charm. It's actually very functional. So I think you've done that very well. As far as Councilmember Harris's comment, there should be a way to capture page views or something along those lines.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor. All I have to say is, I have a P.O. box in the area, and so I receive a copy of the currents, and then there's a stack of copies in the lobby. And basically, if you have a residence, I guess my point is that the post office box, if you're in an apartment, they're just going to drop a stack of copies in the lobby and not fill the boxes, and so nobody picks them up anyways.
Okay. And along that line, I do know that there's been back and forth. I don't think so much at Wesley. I think almost everybody gets theirs there. But at different times, Judson Park, they say, why don't we get currents anymore? And so at different times I've talked to the management there, and they'll say, oh, we'll start doing that. And then, so it's up and down. I don't know how to monitor that.
Well, we do take stacks to them directly.
Yeah.
And again, it's, like the post office. No knock on them, but
Yeah.
if they deliver them or not, we're up to the postal carriers.
Yeah.
What they do with them,
Yeah.
so.
Well, thank you for your, okay, any more questions? Thank you for all this work on this. I'm hoping this turns out to be a notable savings and that we appreciate.
I'm hunched over later, you'll know why. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I did have one more comment on that. I did notice the, this partnership opportunity, just a little input on that. It looked like it was going to be advertisements, and it would be nice if in our partnerships that it could be more of an article format so that it looks to the reader like this is a partnership instead of just somebody just got all the ads. Like that there isn't 14 pool ads, and okay, that's an overstatement, but that really they write some cool articles that are informative and look like they're alive, not just a paid advertiser. So
Yeah,
that was
agreed. I mean, that'd be
Okay.
great. And I think if they did want to partner, we could probably make that happen.
okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's all I had. That's all we had for Committee of the Whole tonight. So we are going to adjourn this meeting, and we'll reconvene for the regular meeting at 6 o'clock. The December 4th, 2025 Des Moines City Council meeting is now called to order. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz will now lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, welcome tonight for all of you from the public that are joining us. Appreciate you taking your time out of your Thursday evening. Come and join us. Thank you. If you're attending online on Channel 21, please recognize that we can't attend to our phones at the dais, so if you have any technical problems with your viewing experience, please email cityclerk@desmoineswa.gov, and we'll look into it and try and take care of it during the meeting. Let the record show that all council members tonight are present, but council members Nutting and Mahoney will be participating remotely. Do we have any correspondence not previously received by council?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Now it's time for comments from the public. Tonight, I do want to make a note, just a general note, that we are now allowing public comment via Zoom. So if you stay home and you watch online, you also can comment using Zoom, but you do need to let us know at least, I think, 48 hours ahead of time, or 24?
Noon the day before.
Noon the day before, so that we can make sure that all the links are straight so that you'll be able to participate. Anyway, a nice feature that we've added this year. So tonight we will also have two public hearings. One will be in regard to the formation of a planning commission, and the other will be a transportation improvement plan amendment. So if you have comments on either one of those two items, I would encourage you to hold your comments until the public hearing so that your comments can be part of the public record. So if you have other comments that you'll be coming up tonight, we ask that you keep your comments respectful. And when you come up to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and your city of residence when you come up. So we have up first, Chris De La Rosa. Come on up.
Okay, hi. This is first time here. Do I look over here, there, or does it matter?
Just anywhere you want, you can, but you're speaking to us, so
Okay.
up here.
I have 4 critical reasons why the flock camera must be terminated and removed immediately. Digital security failure. The system lacks basic cyber protection like mandatory phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication, leaving all sensitive resident data vulnerable to widespread credential theft and hacking. Number 2, physical hardware compromise. The cameras are physically unsecure in the public right-of-way and obtain exposure. Unprotected USB and debug ports allow anyone with a physical access to plant malware or manipulate the system. Legal disclosure mandate. Skagit County recently had a case where somebody brought a case to Skagit County Superior Court ruling establishing the flock data is a public record in Washington. This means the city cannot guarantee residents' privacy, as anyone can legally request the sensitive tracking data, including bad actors like stalkers, identity threat, and ICE. And most importantly, the human factor. No technical safeguards can govern the heart and intent of a human operator. That means anybody that has ill intent can go ahead and get that data and compromise all of our safeties. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you coming up. Is there anybody who came tonight who was planning on making a comment and didn't know you needed to sign in order to do that? If you want to do that, you may right now. All right, thank you very much. Pass that back. All right, moving on to our regional committee reports. Right now, we're operating under a committee of the whole model, so we don't have committee chairs. However, several council members do serve out in the region at regional tables and represent the city of Des Moines at those tables. And so this is an opportunity for them to report out where they've been and interesting items to our city residents. Anybody have a report? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, last night, Mayor Buxton and I attended the Sound Cities Association an annual or quarterly? Annual meeting, out in Issaquah in the Pickering Barn, which was a kind of a really cool place to have a meeting. And there was a lot going on. Sound Cities Association, as hopefully people know, is a collection of all the cities in King County except for Seattle. It basically serves as a counterweight to Seattle and a counterweight to King County by that collective action. There was a great report from the executive director about all the things and all the things that have been Sound Cities has been doing, and just the seat at the table that we've been able to acquire for a lot of the decisions that are being made. Additionally, it was Mayor Buxton's last night as president, and so she got an appropriate award, which was very nice, and a lot of people were very sad to see her leave. So, and she also had very, very cute gingerbread men that she found for all the retiring members, and they had they were decorated with little Hawaiian shorts. So it was very cool.
Gingerbread dudes.
Gingerbread dudes. Sorry. Anyway, it was a good time, and it was a very nice meeting. We approved the budget, and it was just a very successful meeting. Thank you.
Well, I want to tag on to that. It was very inspiring to me to see the collection of people there, the collaborative atmosphere that is generated out of Sound Cities Association. When you consider that we operate in a very divided, very polarized environment in this country and in this county, and Sound Cities has done an amazing job at bridging these, the partisan gap, some of these issue gaps. We work really hard to find the one voice and bringing people together that way. And so it is a healing organization. It is a strong advocacy organization, and I appreciate that it works to hold us together. So very thankful for SCA. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the next item and our consent agenda. So could the clerk please read the consent agenda? Oh, excuse me. You didn't pay me enough this week.
I did not give you a good enough cookie then. As Jeff comes up, I have two quick items I want to mention before we get to the third quarter financial report. First, I hope everyone will join us Saturday evening for the tree lighting. We have partnered with Destination Des Moines to move that event to the marina, but Big Catch Plaza is also still lit. The event is from 5:30 to 7:30. Santa is coming in on a boat, and then he'll be coming, I think, around 5:50 with the tree being lit at 6. I've heard by the mayor and Santa and somebody from DDM. But they'll have crafts, food trucks, music, hot cocoa with, Jameson in it at the quarter. I mean, I don't know, whatever. So please make plans to come. It'll be really fun. And we're excited for it. So also a big thank you to both the Wilkins. They have really done a tremendous amount of work kind of spearheading this event along with Parks and Rec. So especially Scott this week. So, yes. It's a first year event. So I want to put a quick plug in for that. And then after you're done with your holiday festivities on Saturday, please join us on Tuesday night for just as festive of a time at the town hall meeting at Des Moines Elementary on 16th, like new Des Moines Elementary. That town hall is from 6 to 8. We hope people will bring their families. We have a kids corner, which has opportunities for kids to give input. We're even doing a drawing for Mayor for a Day to try and lure parents to bring their children. Thought you would not be offended or threatened by that. But this really is going to be an incredible opportunity for it's interactive. It is a workshop where people will be giving a lot of real-time live input. It is facilitated, so I'm super excited about that. And then finally, our survey is up to about 730 responses so far. Huge thanks to the Citizen Advisory Board, as well as some really passionate just residents who have helped promote this. So the survey closes December 12th, so there's still plenty of time to take it if somebody has not. But we really would love to see people there on Tuesday night. I know it's really hard to come out during the holiday season and when it's cold and dark, but we will have cookies and a fun workshop, and your child could be mayor for a day. So what more can we offer? Okay, now Jeff's going to talk about our finances. Take it away, Jeff. Follow that up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Jeff Friend, Finance Director, presenting the third quarter 2025 financial report. We'll begin with some highlights. This is presentations and overview. The detailed report is in the packet. As far as the general fund, sales tax was notable. We collected about a little over $3.2 million through September. That is $166,000 more than the same period last year. So it's nice to have a revenue line item that is doing better than the prior year. Regular sales tax is about $86,000 above budget. One-time sales tax is about $135,000 below budget. The difference between the two categories is that one-time sales tax is for projects that are permitted at a value of $15 million or more. And this was a topic that came up during the committee of the whole. So in 2024, when we were working on the budget, we knew that there were some upcoming projects, specifically the middle school, Business Park West, there's an apartment building, and also Wesley Phase 2. So at that time, we did include those projects in the budget for 25 and 26. And but we don't have a sense of timing that early sometimes. So therefore, our expectations were a bit high. And one thing I would say is, having talked to the city manager today about planning for the next budget cycle, that our communication between departments will be a lot more precise and clear. So hopefully going forward, we won't overshoot on the one-time sales tax category by as much as we have. B&O square footage tax has also been a topic lately. Through the third quarter, we collected $103,000, but I do want to point out through November, which is really just one more month, we've collected $326,000 of square footage tax. We've also gotten some delinquent businesses also caught up, so we've seen some improvement in the B&O tax revenue. Overall operating income for the general fund was a little over $52,000. And it's important to note that that's good news, but also we had some revenue come in the third quarter, which was the sale of Tract C for about $690,000, and also we received about $775,000 from street vacations that we got from Sound Transit. So we were ahead $52,000, but part of that is about $1.3 million that took us to get there. So we do have an operating gap still, but for the third quarter overall, we're ahead $52,000. Development fund has income of about $152,000. The marina a little over $1 million, and surface water management just shy of $1 million. General fund revenue, these are the revenue categories: taxes, licenses and permits, intergovernmental, which is like grants, fees, charges and fines, other miscellaneous, and just the non-recurring one-time. So if you look at this, you can see that the budget expectations on that bottom line, which I hit the wrong button. Down here, the last one, our budget expectations were a little over $1 million, and we received about 1.7. So that shows the strength of that category during the quarter, which is not something that recurs. So that's why it's non-recurring. That really helped us out for the year. Taxes, you can see, are on the top line under budget by about $666,000, and that again goes back to our expectations on the square footage tax. None of these budget amounts have been amended. We are bringing budget amendments back to council next week. So this is the original adopted budget. So those square footage tax expectations are still higher than what we would have them be going forward. General fund expenditures. Here we have personnel, supplies, services, internal services, and transfers out. This is looking mainly good. So personnel, services, and transfers out, not that that is substantial. Those are color-coded yellow. That means they're about within 5% the wrong direction. So that's 2% for personnel over budget, 2% for services over budget, but it's not 5% or more. So it's pretty much on target, not materially off target. Internal services, that'll end the year, should end the year even, because that's just transfers and payments between funds that we budget for. So overall, it's a good sign that we are only 1% overall over budgeted expectations. As far as cash goes, for the general fund, our operating reserves at the end of September were $2.9 million. The threshold that we'd like to see is 16.67% of operating expenditures. That would mean we'd have enough cash to cover 2 months of expenses during a year. At the end of the second quarter, this was about 8.2%, but now after the third quarter, we're up to 12.1%. So as you can see in the chart, optimal would be like 25% or more. That would be fantastic. But right now, we're kind of aiming for 16.67%. And I'm not talking about like fund balance, which is something different. This is really just cash. So as far as just cash on hand, we're at 12.1. And we focus on cash because if we make our cash position stronger, it's kind of like lifts all the other boats as well. So everything else, any other metric would be also stronger. Marina revenue, there's a lot of green up there. Basically, they are 5% over budgeted expectations. So you can see charges for services and fuel are both 5%, and that's really a majority of their revenue. On the expenditure side, also some green, as they are 5% up on revenue. They are also 5% below budget on expenditures. So their expenditures year-to-date are about $3.2 million. So their operating income, as we said previously, is a little over $1 million. And on surface water management, their operating revenue is 24% under budgeted expectations. However, there's a caveat, is that they get their surface water fees in April and October, it goes through the county on property tax bills. So it's not a surprise to see them that low. So in the fourth quarter, they should be brought up closer to budgeted expectations. So it looks bad, but it's not a surprise. And that ends the presentation. Any questions?
Right. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, go ahead.
Yeah, on the marina slide, the fuel services or the fuel sales seem to be below what was expected and budgeted. Did I read that correctly? And
fuel sales is 5% above budget, and then the fuel
fuel purchases
are 14%.
I guess what's the difference? Help me understand. One is the sales, one is the purchase of what we're selling.
Right. So they've spent a little over $1 million on fuel in September, and then they've sold about $1.1 million. But also, what can factor in this is is basically timing as far as when they pay invoices and whatnot. But we do have an income statement internally that we do for the marina and fuel sales, and they're charging more than they are paying because they're not stupid.
Well, we'd never suggest that they were.
No. But yeah,
yeah. Well, how often do they purchase it, and what is are they purchasing much bigger amounts and then it catches up later? Is that what makes the difference there?
Yeah, and then there's also inventory methods on which fuel is recorded as being sold. And so, if I remember collecting the oldest, they call it last in, first out, or first in, first out, as far as how you record what's being sold. And we sell the oldest gas first. So you always have these pricing differences between the sales and what you're purchasing. So what you're purchasing is always going to be like what you're paying on that invoice that month. What you sell depends on which gallon you sell. So you can sell the one you bought in February, if that's the oldest one you have, or you can sell the one you just bought. And so there could be a pricing difference there as far as, and that affects the profit that you get on the gas, if that makes sense.
Okay, but by the end of the year, it all kind of balances out. Is that ultimately what to expect?
Well, the sales should be more than the purchases.
We hope.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Otherwise, you get back to that first comment. Okay.
Yeah. Which is perspective of myself, not of the marina, so.
All right, it just sort of caught my eye, and I wanted to ask about it. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Mahoney, Councilmember Nutting, any questions? And Councilmember Harris.
Thank you as always. So while we're at the marina thing, how come all of the lights are green and yellow, but the bottom is red?
Which slide is that?
The one that I've got, you changed it. Oh, you.
On the marina? Yeah, there were, let's see.
Oh, okay, editing, last minute editing.
Yeah, there was, on this slide here, the one that was originally sent to council was missing the 13,748, which we caught after the fact. And then this, yeah, the red was in error and it was changed to green.
That's why just having it happen when the packet is released is really. So let's see here. Go into the warehouse, the square footage thing.
Yes.
I am, because can't see, but it's like you say there's 103K collected and then 326. Like a lot got collected. Like, is that unusual? Did you just send out, harshly worded? Is there a reason it came in en masse like that?
Yeah, I think because we saw where we were at after October, and then we knew what businesses we needed to contact, and so there was a lot of activity in November. Yes. Okay,
but it's not to be anticipated that it'll be that. I'm just in future years, one expects that it will be more of a.
In terms of a drastic increase?
Yeah, well, no, I mean that it will be more predictable, that it won't.
Yeah, it should be more predictable.
Yeah, no, that's the, and then you sent me like a chart of accounting. I hope everybody, that was extremely useful. Thank you so much. One last thing, the dogs, I noted it was like, the pets was like 6,000.
Right.
And so, in the upcoming, I don't want to spoiler alert, but I'm just wondering how much of the lift is going to be considered for animal control. In other words, what percentage of that were we expecting in the consideration of an animal control options we have?
In terms of?
Well, we've got these options of what we can get, and I'm just, 6,000 was, disappointing. I mean, to me,
Are you talking about the
not.
pet licensing fees?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that definitely is below where I think the vendor had sort of indicated. That being said, we've sort of just started. It's only been a few months, so we're at, I think it's around 7,000, but 7,000 is not really that big of a difference. We are continuing to work with that vendor to strengthen our ability to get people participating. What we keep hearing anecdotally is people don't want to pay because we don't have animal control. And so it's a little bit of a catch-22 because it's like, well, we're going to use that money for animal control. Well, show me the animal control, then maybe I'll get my pet licensed. But we're continuing to work on that and strengthen sort of that advertising.
No, I'm not. I mean, I know there are many more doggies and kitties than, and I'm just wondering how much, what is the contribution to the discussion of animal control reason, like, is it like the square footage thing where even though it's initially disappointing, eventually we're going to get to 40 or whatever, that's a reasonable expectation?
I think it's hard for us to tell this time. Originally, the quote we were given from the vendor was, I believe, between 35 and 40 was like the, what they anticipated. We'll continue to keep working on it. But the animal control item later, we're prepared to talk to you all about that contract with Berrien Cares, even if the pet licensing stayed where it is. Yep.
That's
yep.
what I was
Yeah.
driving at. I'm sorry for taking a long way to get there. Thank you, sir.
All right. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I had a question a few meetings ago about the warehouse tax and whether it applied to businesses that were vacant. And I don't know if I heard back if we are including them in the number of properties that are owing us that square footage tax.
There is, in general, no, but there is one business where we counted on them being there that is vacant, that they're going through bankruptcy, and we have contacted the relevant people with the bankruptcy to try to collect for the time that they were there.
Thank you.
Okay, checking. And one more time up on the screen, council members. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Looks like we're good for that, unless you've got a question for us.
Yeah, can I revisit the marina question? Just really quickly. So the sales, 'cause I just realized it now, the sales were about 100,000 more than the purchases, and really for a year with the marina to make about $200,000 in fuel sales is about where it is normal. So that would have been a better answer than the one I gave. So wanted to revisit that.
More clear, though. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you for, you should have walked away, but what are the odds of getting some kind of like quarterly income statement? Just since you sort of mentioned that, is that something that can be put together easily?
Well, that's what we provide with this report.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not fuel sales, fuel.
Oh, for the marina fuel.
Well, no, for any things where there's like a debit on, a revenue and then a correlative expense.
Well, we do it specifically for the marina to show them how they're doing with the fuel sales, and if council is interested in seeing that, we can provide that.
Okay, I'm just asking, is it like a lot of work or is it?
No, it's something we do normally. So we do it on a monthly basis.
Okay, that would be, I was just struck by, you mentioned, I had no idea that you did like a LIFO, FIFO, that you actually, tracked it by in and out. So that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're good. Are you good, Jeff?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Back to you, friend.
That's all we have.
Okay. All right, so now we really are going to move on to consent. Could the city clerk read the consent calendar, please?
Item 1, approval of vouchers. Item 2, approval of minutes. Item 3, land use application abandonment, second reading. Item 4, co-living housing ordinance, second reading. Item 5, adoption of the 2026 City Council state legislative priorities. Item 6, collective bargaining agreement, Police Guild. Item 7, boundary line adjustment with Normandy Park. And that concludes the consent agenda, Mayor.
Thank you so much. It looks like I have a motion. Councilmember Nutting.
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second? Second, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. Is there any item that a council member wishes to pull? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. It looks like it's unanimous. Motion passes. Consent is approved. Thank you. Okay, so now we are moving on to our public hearing, our first public hearing. This is in regard to the Planning Commission. The purpose of this agenda item is for the City Council to hold a public hearing to consider the formation of a Planning Commission. I will now open the public hearing, and we will begin with a staff presentation from Community Development Director Rebecca Deming.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We've talked about the Planning Commission quite a bit, so it's a bit of a pared down presentation just to go over pretty much what's in the ordinance. As a recap from the prior council direction, where the ordinance includes 7 commissioners with 4-year terms. It includes a full council appointment versus a mayoral recommendation and council confirmation. The membership of the 7 will consist of 5 that should have qualified experience, and 1 should be a business owner. The remaining person would be more of an at-large person. The members of the commission should be residents. All 7 should be residents of the city who have lived within the city for at least 1 year prior to appointment. And they shall not sit on any other city standing commission or committee. Within the duties and responsibilities, the Planning Commission will review staff proposals and hold public hearings and submit recommendations to the City Council on certain Type 4 and 6 land use actions. And I go over in the next slide what those are. The Planning Commission shall review other matters that you guys direct them to. And the Planning Commission meetings shall be scheduled about once per month and no less than 4 times a year. So as I was mentioning, the types of applications that are included, the Planning Commission for public hearing would include items like zoning map amendments, subdivisions, preliminary plats, and associated alterations, binding site plans, planned unit development, and development code amendments, specifically Title 17 and 18 only. Examples of items that went to the council in 2025 include the accessory dwelling unit ordinance, middle housing ordinance, application abandonment ordinance, and co-living housing ordinance. The ones excluded per your guys' direction that can still be discussed if you want to continue, that would normally go to council, includes comprehensive adoption and their amendments, and master plans. We also excluded shoreline development permits and conditional use permits and variances because that would require a shoreline master program amendment as well. The next steps would be to complete this public hearing, have a second reading, then we would do the recruitment and selection of the Planning Commission, and then the commission would start. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
So now it is time for the public comment portion of this public hearing. Please keep, if you come to the podium, please keep your comments respectful. Please state your name and city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. We do have someone who's signed up to speak on this item. I'd like to call up William Kennedy.
Good evening. My name is William Kennedy, 27039 10th Avenue South. I'm one of those Woodmont people. The ordinance as written is pretty good. There were a couple of statements that I'm saying, I'm not sure that's legal or anything, but I'm not a lawyer, and so I better not say anything. It looks like, though, if this is adopted, that you're going to have both a planning commission and a planning agency. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a problem. I think it's pretty unusual. The planning agency, from what I can gather, was mainly for the comprehensive plan adoption and amendments. Oh, I should say, I stutter, so I need more time than what most people have. That's a joke. Nobody laughed. But anyway, I strongly feel that the Planning Commission should hold the initial hearing on comprehensive plan and comprehensive plan amendments, and then recommend to the City Council, who obviously would have final word. So the council would still get their 2 cents in there, but to have the Planning Commission, and especially on some of those that were being excluded, they are a good sounding board for citizen comment and is an objective and especially non-political hearing board. Let the let the politicians be in your pockets, but let the planning commission be the citizens' pocket. As for the ordinance itself, the fourth, whereas the city council retains the authority of the planning agency to prepare a comprehensive plan under RCW 35A 63060. As stated above, first off, I'm not sure that's legal, but the comprehensive plan, that's what planners do. They're comprehensive plan people. So those that you appoint, that should be their first lesson. Page 2, Section 2, and this is of the ordinance, Planning Commission's purpose, meetings shall be scheduled once per month, and the commission shall meet no more than 4 times a year. Maybe add, additional meetings may be scheduled as determined by the presiding officer and a majority of the planning commission. Am I supposed to be done? Can I continue?
If you could wrap up actually with just a couple more sentences.
Okay. Well, I think the strongest thing that I can say is that please put in that ordinance that the planning commission will have a step as to how the comprehensive plan is both adopted and how it's amended. Other than that, thanks for doing it. The ordinance is pretty good, and you're going to have a lot of work. And the reason I say that, I'm 35 years a planning director, and so I kind of know what she's going to get into, and it's fun. It's really a fun part.
Thank you so much, William. So is there anyone who didn't sign up to speak who wishes to speak? Second call, anyone who didn't sign up to speak who wishes to speak? And third call, anyone who didn't sign up to speak who wishes to speak? Okay. So now it's time for council questions. Council, do you have any questions? I would like to open with a clarity question to our city attorney or city manager. Could you clarify planning, our compliance with the planning agency portion of the RCW and what that means?
Would you like me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was going to, didn't mean to.
So the definition under the RCW for a planning agency includes any commission and staff. So by creating this commission, they are part of the official RCW planning agency. But because you guys retained the comprehensive plan, we specifically called out, based on your direction, that portion where it directs the planning agency to prepare the comprehensive plan, that's why that whereas is in there, that you guys are retaining that right, because you did not designate that right to the commission.
And so far, the Planning Commission has not been in existence, but have we still been in compliance with the planning agency portion of the RCW?
You guys have been acting basically as the planning agency.
Okay.
And if I could just add one more thing regarding the terms planning agency and planning commission, they're generally used interchangeably, and if you can see in the ordinance on page 1, whereas the city council has decided to create a planning agency titled the Planning Commission. So we're not creating 2 different bodies here. We're creating a planning agency and we're calling it the Planning Commission. So it is a little confusing, but that's just kind of the enabling language that was selected.
Okay. All right, any other question, council? So I'll go down the line this way. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing this back to us. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the possible membership and a little bit about that list of qualifications, which I think is always a bit interesting because there is no list of qualifications to be on city council, but we came up with a list of suggestions for people who might need to be on the planning commission. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that the second at-large, or maybe you could tell us in your previous experience at North Bend, like how to balance having some folks who represent a community voice, and maybe we could use that second at-large position to have someone who doesn't need to have any of this background, Or perhaps we can add community impact to this list of reasons why someone is qualified.
I mean, we put in there should consist because it sounded like council wanted to be able to have the option whichever way you guys wanted to go based on the applicants in front of you. So I think it's open to however you guys want based on the applicants. My experience is usually in my experience, most planning commissions ask for all 7 to have because it says an interest in what they're doing. So it's usually all 7 or 6 plus a business owner. But it always depends on what applicants you get. So as we talked about, do we want a requirement to spread out through the city or not? And we decided not to go with that. So it so depends on who you get.
Right, that is true. But if we added something like community impact, I mean, land use is community impact. But since it's absent from this list, I don't want to discourage people who don't have a professional background in one of these subject matters, thinking that they're not qualified or they may not be welcome. And so I'm wondering if there's a language that you either have experience with, or perhaps we can add something there to ensure that, yeah, it's fine. You just don't need to be a PE or an expert in land use and a former land use manager to apply to the Planning Commission. Has that?
I'm not aware of any specific language into that and in my research.
Okay.
Usually, again, interest in housing and land use usually brings everyone out, so.
Yeah, it says qualified by experience or interest. Maybe it's interest only rather than keeping the word experience. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you.
Moving down the line, Councilmember Harris.
This is just, belt and suspenders, but, and maybe it is for the city attorney, but let's say you only get 5 people with interest. Can you function? Are we legally? In other words, do you have to have 7 people before you get started? Because what we did with the airport committee was it took a while.
Because this is a Open Public Meeting Act commission, we would need a quorum, so it's very difficult to function when you only have 5, because all it takes is someone to be sick or, a few people to miss a meeting and you can't have the meeting. And so, we definitely try to make sure we have a fully appointed commission to operate, but we would just try harder to find more people.
No. I'm just saying if that's like you would feel more comfortable waiting until you had 7 people. I mean, maybe you'll get 31. I don't know, but let's say you got 6. You would rather hold off implementation until you got 7.
I mean, the ordinance is written just to go implement in 60 days. We're hoping to be able to find what we need and do it within 60 days. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, there's no specific language in here, so therefore it could be interpreted as a term limit. Can people be reappointed? Or is there an implied?
There's no limitation to reappointment.
Prohibiting it.
Yeah. That's correct. There's no limitation to reappointment.
I'm wondering, for clarity, we should state that you can serve multiple terms. Because right now it just says a term is 4 years.
We can add that in. I think what would be good is at the end,
after the motion is made, and we can ask for amendments.
If the majority wanted that, we could add that in.
Okay.
So we'll wait until then. But
Yes, I know
the
exactly.
so your question's answered. Yes?
Well, I think what Councilman Broxiger is saying, he's going to make a motion later to make that amendment,
Right.
perhaps.
Okay.
And if the majority support it, we can do that.
Okay. Council members, Nutting and Mahoney, any questions? No questions. Okay. Just double checking. All right. And we got that answered. Okay, I will now close the public hearing. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Looking for it right now.
Right here.
Thank you. Okay. But I got the wrong glasses to read it. I move to pass draft ordinance 25-108 to a second reading on December 11th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Grace Matsui gets the second. All right, discussion. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I'd like to move to make an amendment to include review and recommendation by the Planning Commission on the comprehensive plan adoption and amendments.
Do I have a second on that? Second for Councilmember Harris. So before we begin this discussion, there were 3 bullets in the packet of items that were kind of a refresher that we had eliminated, and there is an ask to reconsider during this discussion. I would like to take each of those separately if there's interest in making motions. So we'll take this one, and then if there's interest in the other 2 items, we'll take those as a separate motion. So go ahead, any discussion on including the comprehensive plan? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, you can start.
Yeah, I've kind of gone back and forth on this, but I understand that it is a recommendation from the Planning Commission, but as indicated before, this does provide an outlet for the public to really give a lot more input on comprehensive plan adoptions and amendments, and then for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to the council. I think that makes some sense to me at this point. And as a consequence, I think I was one of the ones that asked it to be taken out, but I'm now kind of reversing direction. I think it should be included in because I think we need to get as much input on comprehensive plans, amendments, and adoptions as we can.
Councilmember Harris.
I seconded this because I don't want to put words in Mr. Kennedy's mouth, but we used to call it a PPA, just technically, and back, in the 14th century, and there was this expectation to provide a voice on the planning for the entire city, and if you constrain it to, if you don't include the comp plan, it is less meaningful for the community writ large. The final decision is the council's, but I'm pretty sure you will get more engagement from the public if they know they can weigh in on the entirety of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mahoney.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure.
Loud and clear.
I don't believe this amendment is necessary. We already have a stipulation in there that we, as council, can direct them to review other elements, including the comprehensive plan. We had extensive meetings publicly on the comprehensive plan, and there was plenty of opportunity for other additional output or input from the public. It's adding layers of bureaucracy and red tape to a program we need to move forward on. I think certain sections could be designated, and that's the will of the council when they get there. But it's not really necessary. I think there's plenty of touch points, public touch points at this point that people can give their input, and adding this additional layer of review is problematic. I like I said, we can take certain sections that may be applicable and send those to them for review and evaluation and feedback. But all of it, and to make it that, is, I think, kind of irresponsible for the future decision makers in this regard. So I'm not going to support this amendment. Thank you.
Right. Any other discussion? Just a moment. You were pointing, did you see that Councilmember Nutting had his hand up? Just double checking with you, Councilmember Nutting. Look, somebody thought they saw your hand. Okay. So I'm going to make a comment and then I'll go to you. So we when I looked into this, personally, I actually went online and searched every single city in King County, and we were the only one that did not have a planning commission. But what was interesting is they were extremely difficult to reach. You couldn't find a phone number, couldn't get anybody to answer the phone, couldn't find out who was on it. So just because cities have planning commissions doesn't mean they're functioning. They can just list that they have one on there might not even be anybody on it. So that's what it began to feel like to me. So this is a lot of work to stand up this commission. And just to virtue signal, I feel like this needs to be meaningful for the people that to draw people. I'm echoing some of the other the statements that have been made. And yeah, I think, and the presentation here said that this is a common task of a planning commission. So we're going to be drawing smart corporate and or business people probably to this. Those are the kind of people that are usually interested. Maybe not, but they need meaningful work in order for this to succeed. And I think that this adds meaning to this commission. So I will be supporting this amendment. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. Gosh, as a point of discussion, it's one of those things where we've spent a great deal of time discussing this on the dais as a body, and it's a bit surprising to me to feel this complete change of direction. And it makes me wonder if we are not ready to make a decision if we still are unsure about what we want the Planning Commission to do, because we have talked pretty extensively about it up to this point. So while I understand that there is a hope that designating or sending the comprehensive plan amendments to the Planning Commission for their recommendation is a positive thing, again, I'm just concerned that we're talking about a very, very fundamental part of either what we'll do or what they will do, and if there's not an agreement from what we've been talking about this whole time, then I'm not sure that we have a direct understanding of how this body will be used, how the Planning Commission will be used. So it's very concerning to me. Gosh, and so at this point, I think that it's important to also recognize that the Planning Commission is advisory. And so they can put a recommendation for almost anything. But do they need to go through and review something prior, like the comprehensive plan, prior than council? I'm not sure, because we've developed a body of work that they are going to do, and we divided it already. So it's just very important to understand what the responsibility and role of each of these groups are and how they are distinguished from each other. And I think the more responsibility and work that you heap onto that Planning Commission will muddy those waters. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
I am extremely mindful of staff time and effort and seriously, but this year has been a lot of software. There are a lot of Rev 1s, and the reason that I support this is I'm very mindful of everything that you're saying, Councilmember Grace Matsui, but I don't expect this to be, we're going to get it right with Rev 1. Just as with the doggies and kitties and the square footage thing and whatever, we've been out of practice on a lot of things for a long time. We have to give ourselves the grace to what has been my experience with the council is that we used to say, or previous councils would say, well, hey, if we don't like it, we'll fix it next year. And of course, nothing would happen for a decade. But, we can look at this stuff and every year, and I encourage staff to be extremely candid as to how everyone feels about the success and how to adapt it and so on. It would be bad to pass something less than optimal and not keep getting it to where it needs to be. But I feel like, give it a try, and I support the amendment mainly to get the widest variety of people into the game and see what happens, because this is software. Thank you.
Right, any further discussion? Right, all in favor of the amendment to add the comprehensive plan adoption and amendments to the job responsibilities of the Planning Commission, raise your right hand. Councilmember Harris, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Councilmember Ottinger, and Councilmember Grace Matsui, motion fails. So there are also two other items that were under consideration for the same kind of question. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I'd move to amend the ordinance to include review and recommendation by the Planning Commission to include business park and institutional campus master plans.
Do I have a second? A second, Councilmember Harris. Discussion. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, again, if we are asking a planning commission to, dig into the weeds, so to speak, and go through a lot of it, is exactly these kinds of issues dealing with business parks, institutional campus master plans. That's where that work should be done to make us a recommendation on this. And I think this falls squarely within my understanding of what a planning commission should be doing. I have had the opportunity to talk to a number of the deputy mayors that are in Sound Cities Association and those that have an active functioning planning commission. This kind of planning goes directly to their planning commission first and then comes up with a recommendation. So I really think that this is well suited to be included in what the planning commission should be doing.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Harris.
I could not agree more. I think one of the most egregious, people feel really left out of the business park discussion over the years, and we do have so much institutional campus, and in any city that's working on a civic campus or anything like that, it would just be a matter of course. So, absolutely.
Thank you. Any other discussion? My comments are basically the same as they were for the previous item, and I will be in favor of this amendment to bring meaning to the commission and the people that we will be asking to do this work. All right, all in favor of this amendment, raise your right hand. Councilmember Ottinger, Councilmember Harris, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion passes. All right, there is a motion, a third motion.
If I may, on this last item.
Yes.
Staff does not recommend amending the ordinance because it would require amending the Shoreline Master Program. Instead, if you guys want to require this for the Planning Commission, we recommend you just direct staff to make that change when we're amending the Shoreline Master Program.
All right, so how do you?
And then we will bring the ordinance back for the Planning Commission at the same time that we amend our Shoreline Master Program to say that it's going to the Planning Commission. So if that's the direction you want to go, we ask that you just direct staff as the motion.
Keep that in mind.
I'd ask that what you said.
Thank you.
All right. So with those three items taken care of, we do have one amendment to the main motion. Any other discussion on the main motion? Councilmember Ottinger.
I have an amendment to offer.
All right.
That section 2, add a part 7, just simply state there shall be no term limits. This is with regard to appointments to the commission.
Okay. Do I have a second? Councilmember Grace Matsui for the second. Any discussion? Councilmember Harris.
Getting into the weeds here, I guess it was, do we have any other committees or other things like that where we specify an absence of? It never occurred to me because I just assumed, if people wanted to reapply, it would be something they could do. Is there something that this adds to in terms of capability, I guess is what I'm saying.
It doesn't add capability, just clarity.
Okay. Then I feel like it's just unnecessary because people can just re-up but, whatever.
I will say, in Chapter 4, on our language about councils and appointed committees generally, we do have a 2-term limit. So if you don't want there to be term limits on the Planning Commission, we should expressly state it in the code.
Okay. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? All other committees have a 2-term limit?
Unless they state otherwise. Our general code about appointed committees states that you cannot be appointed again after your 2nd term. You have to basically take a break.
Right. So that making sure that this has no term limit would actually make this commission an outlier from what our policy is or code is for all the other ones, unless it's stated. Do you know the number of which ones are accepted?
I'm not sure that that any of them are. I would have to look through, but Chapter 4.24 generally applies to all the appointed committees.
Right. So if we added this amendment, it would be an exception, and all the other ones, unless it's stated as an exception in some of the other committees.
That's correct, and I'm not sure if it is or not. It'd have to go through each one.
Right. For that reason alone, I would not support this amendment.
Right. Looking down the line, I do have a comment on that. Planning Commission is kind of a unique pathway to involvement in the community. Most people around the region that I talk to, electeds around the region, they got interested in running for city council by being on the Planning Commission first. It's a really great prep environment for this kind of service, and it's also a great way to what they call build your bench. It's a great way to find out who is interested, who does well, who is a team player, how people work in an environment like this. It's a more professional, little upscale environment from some of the other requirements and boards and commissions, and we don't have a term limit in our city council. And it's a board of the city, in a sense. And this is extremely detailed work, and you get involved in, and it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of education, and once somebody gets on board and they're doing a good job, and they are appointed by the council, you don't have to reappoint somebody, but once somebody's doing a great job and has that institutional knowledge of your city, it's too bad to make them quit if they're doing a good job, just like any of us up here. So I would be in favor of going ahead and making that clear, that there would be no term limits on this particular board. There's a lot of requirements for these people, so I'm in favor of the amendment. Yes, Councilmember Oxiger.
I would just add that I have discussed with people that have expressed an interest in serving on the Planning Commission, and they don't want to go any further. Serving on the Planning Commission would be sufficient for them. And so as long as we, if we got people with the expertise, let's utilize it.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor of this amendment, raise your right hand. Councilmember Oxiger, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Mahoney, Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion fails. Okay. Yes.
I'd like to offer an amendment as well in Section 2A. 5 members shall consist of members qualified by experience. I would like to have that read, consist of members qualified who show an interest rather than, and dropping the experience part.
Okay, do I have a second? All right. Fails for lack of a second. Thank you for bringing that forward. All right, so we are back to the main motion. Any further discussion or offering of further amendments? Councilmember Oxiger.
I suppose this is for discussion. It brings back to my point too, my previous point on clarity. Would it be possible then to include the language on general term limits on committees, that it be included in this document so people aren't having to go back and cross-check?
Yes, that would be possible.
Does that need to be a motion, an amendment? Motion, it does, I think. It's
Yes.
amending. Okay, so is the motion understood?
It would be to include the language regarding
Term limit.
2 terms
Limit,
in this document.
okay?
Either
That's
by referencing.
Okay, good. Do I have a second? Councilmember Harris for the second. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Simons.
Yeah, I'm unclear if we're just repeating the same language or if we're just making a reference to the general limitation on appointed boards. I'm just not clear.
What I'm saying is either or, but it just needs to make it clear that there is then a 2-term limit on here. Because right now, the way it's written, it says 1, basically, is what it says. And then you have to cross-reference. And so what I'm saying is, for clarity's sake, include then, if we're going for the 2 terms, include it in here so that this particular ordinance is clear.
So if you wanted consistency with the other committees, I would recommend we include language that says terms are limited as detailed in chapter 4.24, something like that.
So moved.
Okay, so moved, and it's been seconded by Councilmember Harris. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of this amendment, raise your right hand.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I want to make sure that we're agreeing to what City Attorney had just said, that we're recommending that it's back to the verbiage in the code.
I believe that was the motion. Yeah, so that would be what we would draft for council consideration for next Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of the amendment? Raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. So motion passes. Okay. Any other amendments, offerings, or discussion on the main motion? All right. All in favor of the main motion?
Can somebody please read the main motion?
I think the maker of the motion was the Deputy Mayor. Okay.
Yeah, I move to pass draft ordinance 25-108 to a second reading on December 11th, 2025 as amended.
Okay. Is that good? Okay. So.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and motion still passes unanimously, correct? Go ahead and re-raise your hands for me, since we reread the motion. Okay, so Councilman, okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right. We're moving on. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Appreciate your time. Moving on to public hearing number 2 in regard to the Transportation Improvement Plan. The purpose of this agenda item is for the City Council to hold a public hearing to consider an amendment to the Transportation Improvement Plan. I will now open the public hearing. We will begin with the staff presentation from City Engineer Tommy Owen.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Tommy Owen, City Engineer. Tonight for your consideration is an amendment to the 2026 through 2045 Transportation Improvement Plan. So I think all of you have seen these first few slides before. I gave this presentation back in June about what the Transportation Improvement Plan is, so I'll just hit some of the highlights. It is a prioritized list of 88 planned transportation projects. It sets a long-range plan for the city and helps set policies, goals, and strategies to guide decisions. Projects get into the TIP both from the comprehensive plan, analysis of the city's transportation system, and also from interagency and utility coordination. The TIP is used to provide direction to staff for development of the CIP. It's for planning and coordination with utilities in neighboring cities. It's required by state law to submit to WashDOT, as well as the Puget Sound Regional Council, and it positions projects for future grants and loans. So, how we got to this point. At the June City Council meeting, the Resolution 1486 was passed adopting the 26 through 45 Transportation Improvement Plan. In October of this year, though, the Council requested staff bring forward an amendment to consider adding passenger ferry service to the adopted TIP. So for tonight's public hearing, it was published in the Seattle Times on November 17th and 24th. There's the opportunity for public comment at tonight's hearing, and we have received no public comments at this point. Next slide. So the proposed TIP amendment would be to add a project at priority 35 for Des Moines passenger ferry service. The new project would support efforts to spur the return of passenger-only ferries that will include routes connecting Des Moines. Putting this project in the city's TIP would position the city for future partnerships as opportunities arise. And you'll see in the TIP where this project was inserted, there's no expenditures on that for this at this time because it is the city's desire for future passenger ferry service to be financially supported and operated by King County Metro. So the expenditures at this time are really unknown. And with that, I'll leave you with the motion.
All right. Sorry, I was taking notes. All right, it's now time for the public comment portion of the public hearing. If you come to the podium, please keep your comments respectful and state your name and city of residence. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Did we have anybody sign up? So is there anybody who came and did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak? Anybody who wishes to speak but did not sign up to speak? Third call, anybody who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak? All right. Now it's time for council questions. Council, do you have any questions? Councilmember Mahoney and then Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure, so I'm not talking lip syncing, you might say. So specifically, it's in the TIP for any possible funding from any government agency. It's not solely specific to the King County ferry service, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it opens the door for all types of funding. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. You've been at this for a while, and so it will sound like I'm not addressing this, but I'm actually, can you describe, was the shuttle, the 635, was that part of a TIP? Did it follow an analogous process, or was it an independent kind of a deal? And if I'm blindsiding you, then you can just walk.
Yeah, I can definitely look into that. I wasn't part of that one necessarily. I wasn't. I don't think it was on the TIP, but don't hold me to that.
Yeah, no, I'm racking my brain. And just for the city, to amend the TIP requires a public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz?
The converse of Councilmember Mahoney's question is, if it's not in the TIP, are we still eligible to get funding should an opportunity arise?
Likely not, but I think there's a lot of unknowns with that. I think it positions the city much better for future opportunities than if it wasn't in there.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any further council questions? Councilmember Oxiger.
So the way this reads then is that we are only supporting passenger service that includes routes connecting Des Moines. We're not supporting the overall concept of return of the mosquito fleet. We're only going to support it if it includes coming to Des Moines.
That is the current language, yes.
It's like, pardon?
It's because it's the Des Moines TIP, so of course it's based on projects coming to Des Moines or being in Des Moines.
Okay. Yeah, to me, it seems almost like it's I'm going to take my ball and go home if you don't support the entire concept of passenger service.
That is definitely not the intent of this. I think the request that came originally from the mayor for it, the intent is really to have, if the city continues to try and pursue some type of ferry service coming to Des Moines, it is difficult for us to sort of get grant funding to further that effort, or really even kind of show up for regional funding opportunities if we haven't even identified that that's an important project on our own plans. So I think it's really intended more so to just make clear that this is an important initiative to the city.
Okay. But my concern is that if the recommendation comes down to have passenger service restored on the entire sound, but it does not include Des Moines, does that mean that we're not in favor of?
No, it wouldn't even, it's kind of silent to other projects, right? So let's say King County says we're going to do a Vashon Seattle route.
Right.
That we're silent on that, whether we're pro or con. It's just not on our specific plan because we would never comment on some other jurisdiction's transportation plans.
Okay, maybe I'm conflating doing this with a legislative agenda rather than.
Yeah, it's really just
specific.
kind of making clear that this is important to the city. I mean,
Right.
there's no funding attached. I mean, it's really symbolic more than anything.
Okay, Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Well, it sounds like, and I'm paraphrasing, so please, if you could clarify, that if the route was designated from Seattle to Vashon, for example, there would be no traffic or transportation improvement based here, so it wouldn't impact this plan at all. So there's no reason for us to talk about supporting someone else's route in our transportation improvement plan.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Harris, I'll call on you in just a moment. I will add my comments and then go there. I want to apologize for my lack of recommendation earlier and not being more on top of this when the TIP came to us earlier. I just was not aware that it wasn't even on there till I sat in a PSRC executive meeting, and they're talking about the regional transportation plan, and these maps came down the line, and I saw so far unutilized wish lists of other people, their ferry routes on these maps, but our wish list ferry routes were not on them. And then also a recognition that after a talk with Pierce County Executive Ryan Mello, who even has some, skin in the game. It wasn't even a guarantee that if a ferry went from Tacoma to Seattle, that they would even stop here. He said, well, Mayor Buxton, it has to say a fast ferry. And so I thought, wow, it's not a guarantee that somebody's going to stop here, even if there's a ferry going by. So that was part of my impetus. Since then, I did have been working with King County Council members to encourage them to make good on their word. So council members, they've been King County, Quinn and Councilmember Mosqueda in particular, but there was a unanimous vote to pass a budget proviso in support of this route. So they're getting some skin in the game. I got 3 King County Council members coming to me. They're proud of the fact that they did this. Okay, they came up to me and said, "We did you notice we did this for you?" And all that. So it honors their work too. It's like they've got skin into the game. They're honoring their partnership and our advocacy. This says, yeah, we should have had it on our transportation plan. And then it puts it on PSRC's radar for regional transportation plan approval this spring. So it's like all part of the regional work that says we're in this too. We want to partner. So, Councilmember Harris, I think you had your hand up.
This may be, just shake your head if you like, but is there a way, let's say there was a grant opportunity or whatever, can you first order approximation what the city's staff time or effort would be in pursuing something like that?
A bit of an unknown, but I will say that we apply for grants on a regular basis. It's just part of our typical workflow.
Just how long does one of those things take? Just in general. Just say it's all over the map.
Yeah, it's all over, but I mean, sometimes it takes a few weeks to prepare one with a couple staff here and there.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I think we're kind of overthinking this a little bit. I think this is just about us getting it on our plan so that we can say, of course we're in favor of something coming to Des Moines. It doesn't have anything to do with any other routes. It doesn't have anything to do with legislation. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just, yes, we are in favor of it coming to Des Moines if we can figure out how. And it opens the door to the funding. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. So I encourage everybody to support this amendment.
Thank you. Councilmember Mahoney.
Mayor, I'm confused. I thought we were still in the question portion of this public hearing.
That's true. We are.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Good point of order. So, are questions done? Okay. So, I will now close the public hearing. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Mahoney.
Just checking if you can hear me before I read the motion. I move to approve draft resolution number 25-114, amending the 2026 to 2045 Transportation Improvement Plan for the City of Des Moines.
Do I have a second? It looks like Councilmember Nutting for the second. Discussion. Councilmember Harris.
I'm wearing my Artemis hat because I fully support the notion of electric ferries over time. I will not support this, however. Having attended the light rail, that should be 110% of our transportation energy. You build this huge light rail thing, and the next strategic move should be east-west connectivity with a bullet. At max, the ferries, any ferry that you can anticipate here will bring, and that's at 100% pax, 2480 a week. Okay, you do that in that's less than one run every half hour on Sound Transit. If we're just thinking about businesses and the region as a serious transportation process, that will bring in like 1 million people from Seattle, from Linwood, everywhere. It's That's the no-brainer. The ferry thing is lovely, but that's a place-making exercise. It's not transit, it's not transportation. And I can tell you, the reason people are, that transit is an abstraction is because the majority of the population is not as fortunate as I am to be able to walk to a shuttle and then get to downtown. And the moment that you energize that shuttle, that you make east-west connectivity, which is like right there, it's the low-hanging fruit, that's what will energize the downtown in a way that a ferry, it's a lovely concept, it really is, but that should be after we make it easy for people to get from the south end of town, from that Kent Des Moines thing, from the college, to where they want to go. And that's why I asked about the process, because it's such a beautiful thing having that shuttle. And I look at the light rail as being like building this wonderful superhighway, but not having the off-ramp to get people to your store. And that should be the move. And for what it's worth, I've talked to people, that's why I got on the RTC 6 years ago. I see how the budgets work for Metro. It's all Metro, and it's a zero-sum game. I am skeptical that you can support, they will budget ferry and shuttle service or any east-west improvement. And if you have to pick, that should be the first choice. I mean, it's just a numbers game. It's several orders of magnitude. That should be the will of the council, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Mahoney?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, the light rail which I ride is on the High Line, and the access to our downtown is limited. Yes, we have some bus service, but it's not what's advertised. This sells an experience that's different. It brings opportunity to our city, and it brings opportunity to our residents to go to Seattle and do it in a unique way. We basically had almost 15,000 riders in, 9 weeks? And they've thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and it brought a value and a recognition. The PR was immense. To put it on this list is important just to put us on the map for funding. It's basically costs us nothing, and we'd be foolish not to approve this. Later, councils can decide what they want to do if they want to do it. But to cut the cord now is stupid. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I still think this is a no-brainer, because basically it just puts us in a position between now and 2045 to say, if the funding comes available, it's on our list. You know, that's thinking ahead. You know, it's not an either-or kind of thing. It doesn't take away from the ability to get east-west routes. It doesn't take away from anything. It just simply puts us in a position to get it. There is no reason to oppose this, in my mind.
Councilmember Oxiger.
I agree with the sentiments of Councilmember Harris on the importance of promoting the light rail. It's going to bring more people than the passenger ferry ever could. Is the question here that we do not have a TIP designation for promoting basically its last mile. I guess for Tommy, the question is, how are we handling last mile? Is it simply, you know, a wish out there or something, or are we actually working to promote last mile?
Yeah, I would say that currently we do not have anything on the TIP for last mile service. That is really up to King County Metro, and we advocate for that whenever we can.
So I guess what I would say is I agree on keeping the passenger ferry on this list. but I think we should put a greater priority on last mile issues.
Well, council, there's also nothing to say that you can decide upon this item and request additional additions to the TIP.
Right.
So that, yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
So if we are going to do that, I think it would be a separate subject under new business as an agenda item for the future. So I think I saw your hand, Councilmember Harris, but I will want to make a couple comments first. In regard to last mile, we do, from the Kent Des Moines station, we do have, their bus service there. It was considered, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz and I met with Councilmember Balducci this summer, and just talking about this ferry route, she said there are 3 routes on Lake Washington and up around, Discovery, whatever, that are on these PSRC maps, and they're not functioning. They're just a wish list route through PSRC. She said, I've never been in support of those because to me they're not legitimate transportation, they're recreation. She said, this would be legitimate transportation. And she said, I would definitely be in favor of that, of this you guys' pitch here. So just want to say there is a legitimacy to it, that there are ferry routes on wish lists that are not considered that, but they're there. So I think definitely we should get this on a wish list and have more added later if we want. All right, Councilmember Harris, I do think for your second time I saw your hand.
And I'm not trying to take advantage, but this is a wish.
Yes.
We keep talking about strategic planning, but we are making this decision ahead of doing the study to determine its benefits. I have talked to people at PSRC, Metro, and everybody at the initial ride, and the benefits, Terry Federer took the time to be on that. And it's so no-brainer that should be, the fact that we've put so many years, Dan, and just in getting that, and the lack of energy that we are putting into that, into the whole area, is telling. We've ignored it. And this is the golden opportunity. You can, you can, if you say you can support both, great. But we are proposing, we're telling King County, this is really where you want to put your energy. And I'm like, but that's not what the numbers. And that's also, by the way, we're supposed to be a transit-oriented development, community and so forth. That's it. That's hundreds of thousands of potential customers for our downtown and to service our residents. That's the growth. They've been telling us that, and we're simply ignoring what all the real planning people say versus something because it's frankly so darned romantic. And I'm all about romance, man, but this is supposed to be a transportation plan that benefits the greatest number of people, including businesses and residents and future growth. And it's not even close. This is simply a wish versus doing what is practical. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, let's take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Grace Matsui, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Harris opposed. Motion passes. Okay. Thank you so much, Tommy. Appreciate your time up here. Okay, moving on to unfinished business, and we have a discussion here in regard to council compensation. The purpose of this item is for the council to consider a compensation adjustment. And we have a presentation by Assistant Manager A.J. Johnson-Newton.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. My name is AJ Johnson-Newton. I am the Assistant City Manager, and I am here to discuss the compensation framework and survey that the City Council requested last meeting. So next slide, please. So before I get started, I just want to ground us and remind us, what we've discussed already. And so if you recall, council asked for a comparison to basically what are other cities paying, just to sort of fast track that. And because currently, our current status, or the council's current status, is that they are receiving $250 or $350, if you're the mayor, per meeting, and that's capped at 40 meetings per year. The compensation structure has not been updated since 1999. And as we discussed last time, the state law allows compensation to be set either by ordinance or by a salary commission. And at that time, the council indicated that they were interested in pursuing and learning more about an ordinance mechanism to be able to look at compensation. And so just a couple reminders about that. Compensation must be set to a fixed rate. So in other words, you can't, if you go through the ordinance or probably even through the salary commission, you can't have a variable rate. So you have to make your decision on what the rate will be and how it will increase in the ordinance. And that through the ordinance process, any changes must take effect for future terms. Basically, that's just saying that because current sitting council members, thank you, that was a mouthful, cannot vote on their compensation to take effect. So at this point, if the council moves forward, these changes through an ordinance would primarily impact the incoming council members. Next slide, please. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, council basically asked, what are other cities paying? And so we used guidance from MRSC and ICMA to build a data set that was going to be relevant for the council to review. We focused on population and governance, similar to ours, which is council manager, to basically allow the council to look at the salary data in an apples-to-apples view. And so after going through that process, we ended up with 40 cities to create that data set. And then we also averaged out the council's per meeting pay to $750 to align with the typical three meetings a month. Next slide, please. So again, before I run through this slide, I just want to remind council that this is like a pretty straightforward comparison. It's primarily based on population and governance. It's not measuring like workload or council responsibilities. And so this is really going to answer what are other cities paying. And so as you can see, so Des Moines is $750 per month. And the comparator average was just under $1,200 a month. So essentially, other cities in that data set, about 57% of them pay higher, or 57% higher than what we currently compensate the council members for their time. 80% of those comparator cities use a single monthly stipend. As I mentioned earlier, we use a per meeting payment system. The other thing to keep in mind is even though I averaged the typical 3 meetings, you guys don't always meet 3 times per month. So it may be even, we may be even less than what other cities are paying. And what I thought was pretty interesting when you look at population, about 75% of the cities smaller than ours pay more than what we currently offer to our council members. And then cities with more committee work, liaison duties, or regional board assignments tend to compensate at higher amounts. And supplemental compensation practices, which basically would be if we had a set monthly stipend for your participation on the council, there are other jurisdictions that offer compensation in addition to. So that's what I'm referring to, supplemental compensation. And so what I will tell you is like different cities do different things. It's really seems to be unique to the jurisdiction and what's important to them. So I provided some examples about that, and I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit deeper. So if the council's interested in supplemental compensation, so that would be beyond if you guys were interested in an increase in either your per meeting amount or monthly stipend. If you were looking at supplemental compensation, there's like 2 ways you can account for it, right? You could look at doing a stipend, which is basically a fixed dollar amount that would be paid automatically either per month or per meeting. And it would be treated as taxable income because it's compensation. And you could adopt it for whatever you want, as long as, it's within reason with the IRS and all of that. But the amount and the purpose of the stipend would need to be written to the ordinance, and it would follow the same implementation timing as if you increase or do anything with the per meeting, or if you move to a per monthly stipend, okay? So it wouldn't impact everyone at the same time. If you looked at supplemental compensation from a reimbursement standpoint, basically what that would mean is that council would pay the cost first and then request repayment. And reimbursements would not have to be handled through the ordinance. So that's something that if the council was interested in supplemental compensation through some sort of reimbursement method, that essentially that would be governed by city internal policies, the IRS, and the law, and that would actually apply to everyone right now. And so it could be established separate and apart from the ordinance. So just for a couple examples, just make sure everybody's following me. So if the council chose to, let's say, increase your per meeting rate by $100, and then you said, we also want to do $25 stipend for attending regional meetings, then both the $100 and the $25 would need to be written in the ordinance, and then that would fall under the same timing guidelines as in it would only apply to the incoming members, okay? If the council decided for the next example, well, yes, we want to increase our meeting rate by $100, but we want members to be able to request reimbursements for up to $30 for attending regional meetings, then basically only the $100 would need to be in the ordinance. The $30 would be handled by internal policy, and that would apply to everyone on the council now. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Next slide, please. And so I just put these prompts up for council discussion. You don't have to use them. It's just kind of a big question with a lot of possible answers. And so I just wanted to provide some framework if you guys were interested in maybe how to have the discussion, but it's totally up to you. Thank you.
Okay, so you're ready for questions? So before that, I would like to have the first question. Could you offer a little bit of backstory information about the option that we did not use, that I did not use when I brought this forward, which is creating a salary commission? And the reason I did not do that is I think that there has been an appetite for this research, but we felt like staff capacity has been taxed the last couple of years, and so it's a double question of could you clarify about a planning commission and a salary commission, and even if there is staff capacity for considering that. Okay.
I can answer that question.
Okay.
Capacity.
Yes, so the salary commission would be created by ordinance, and it's very much like what you just did for the planning commission, but I would say a little bit less complex. There isn't a lot of parameters set in state law, so you could have like 3 members, 5 members, 7 members, and then really their only assignment is to set the salary for the city council. And then a lot of the research has already been done. So the staff time would be essentially drafting the ordinance, bringing it back to council, and then you'd have to have applicants. The council would approve the applicants just like they would for any other appointed committee. And then the follow-up would be meeting with that committee. Generally, planning commissions will meet.
Salary commissions.
Salary commissions. Depending on what the council were set to set it at, generally they'd meet like every 2 years, something like that, to look at the salary. It could be every 4 years. It could be whatever the council wants to set it at. So really, it wouldn't be a kind of an ongoing commitment, but there would be some work done up front to actually establish the salary commission.
And what happens, like right now, it's a graduated stipend increase depending on when elections happen, but what happens with the salary commission?
Yeah, the benefits of the salary commission is, one, it's an independent body that's creating the salary. And actually, their decision doesn't even come back to the council. Their decision is what then gets instituted. But then, can you remind me?
Does it happen right away? And
Oh, yes. That's the other benefit, is that it happens to all council members at the same time. And you don't have to wait 2 years, you don't have to wait 4 years, because it's an independent body. Their decision is essentially effective the next paycheck, once they finalize their decision.
As it relates to staff workload, I think the only thing if the council wanted to go down this path, which we're happy to work on, is we've also spoken about the council working on a compensation philosophy for general workforce staff as well. Because both of those projects would head that direction, we would ask that we phase those, much like we did for Rebecca with the Airport and Planning Commission.
So I think questions. I'm going to stay with questions. Any questions? Up there, I'm looking for, is Councilmember Nutting still here? He is? Okay. Any questions for you two? No? Right now?
No, I'm good.
All right. Okay. So I think the first question that I would like to pose to the council is, would we like to ensue this detailed conversation and elements of compensation for the council, or does the council have an appetite to move forward next year with a salary commission? If we want to continue the conversation right now and we bring it forward for next week, that means it affects 2 of our council members. If we compile a salary commission, it will affect everybody at the same time, sometime mid-next year. So I'm opening up for that question, Councilmember Mahoney.
I steer toward a salary commission. Let the public decide what we should be paid. Then it's something that's been decided by them and not us. I think they're supposed to be our boss, per se. Let's let them decide. Thanks.
Any other comments? Councilmember Harris.
Whether this is the right moment or not, I will propose that we maintain the current per meeting fee, which I think is very good, but I will note that we have this $9,000 or whatever training stuff, and it was mentioned that, it's frankly that I've taken advantage of it and people don't, but I don't use certain things that other people do. So I would propose to do what the Port of Seattle does, which is provide a very generous reimbursement policy that you can use for pretty much whatever you want. The only caveat is that it is a public document. So if you want to go to regional meetings, if you want to take a flight to a airport conference, as I do, if you want to get a phone, if you want to get whatever you want to do as part of your duties, go for it and just submit a bill.
So you're not in favor of a salary commission? You're not in favor of a salary commission? Okay.
We don't need it. It's another layer of stuff.
Okay. Do you have another comment, Councilmember Mahoney, or your hand is still up?
Yeah, my second.
Oh, all right. Would you like to take that right now?
Yeah. I mean, we specifically had this big discussion that Councilmember Harris brought up when we did the council rules and so forth, and we agreed on a certain share of money. We're not going to give ourselves an unlimited bank account to go to places and fly to this and that. That's like having carte blanche to when we are in an economic decision, and this is the one that comes out of our general fund. So, no, I'm not even going to entertain the idea. Let's just stick to what we're going to do today.
Okay. So,
just as a point of order, that's not what I said at all, but, never mind.
Okay. So if we have no more comments, what I'm going to do is take a vote to see if you would like a salary commission for next year. Otherwise, we will continue this conversation for tonight. All in favor of looking toward a salary commission next year, raise your right hand. Councilmember Mahoney, Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Grace Matsui, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Harris opposed. The motion passes. So it looks like we'll be forming a salary commission next year, and the next council gets to be involved in that. Okay. That's great. Thank you so much, AJ. Appreciate all your work on that. Okay, the next up is new business, and the first item is in regard to animal control. The purpose of this presentation is to discuss the potential contract with Burien Cares, and I think our chief is coming up with that one. Thank you. Chief Ted Bowe.
Good evening, Council. So tonight, talk a little bit about some of our options, a little bit of history on how we got here with our current animal control model, and then 4 potential options looking forward for different things that we could do as far as either status quo or expanding animal control services here in the city. Really the intention to get some feedback from the council on what direction you'd like us to pursue as a city. So real quick history, I think it's super important that we all continue to focus in on how we got here. This is not the ideal solution. This solution was born of necessity. If we look back historically, we had in-house animal control officer retired in 2019. We tried a couple other people in that role unsuccessfully, and then elected to transition to an outside vendor in the form of CARES. We had a full services model with CARES from 2020 until 2025. In 2025, we had some fairly substantial budget issues, and the CARES contract was part of several things we did to get the budget stabilized going into 2025. In that case, we reduced the contract to essentially an emergency response contract where we have limited response for animal control investigations only, but we don't have traditional animal control services, nor do we have sheltering. And a thing I think is important that the city manager mentioned earlier is that this is an applicable use of the new public safety tax dollars that we're going to discuss later. So, status quo. Right now we have a limited contract with CARES. Basically, CARES provides us up to 5 responses a month to do a criminal investigation related to animal control. They do not do proactive services. They don't provide sheltering services except for very limited sheltering where it's related to one of their criminal investigations. If we go over 5, we pay $75 an hour for all services provided, and that includes all investigative services on their end. Anytime they spend on it, we get billed just like an attorney would bill you their time for every phone call and everything they do related to that event. In-house, we have a code enforcement officer, single code enforcement officer, and he's done a couple presentations, so we're all aware of what his caseload looks like on the code enforcement side. He is cross-trained in animal control and capable of doing the investigations, but at some point, there's a give-take on somebody's already carrying 200 cases on their caseload and taking in 50, 60 new cases a month. He doesn't really have time to dedicate to animal control unless we want to move away from his traditional response on code enforcement, and I don't think there's a very good appetite for that either. And I do want to point out that there is a level of public dissatisfaction, which I'm fully aware you guys have fielded more than your fair share of emails and phone calls about with the existing model and a desire to expand to more of a traditional model. So the first option is to start working our way back towards traditional contract for animal control services with CARES. The staff recommended option is $80,000, so about a $60,000 increase in the cost structure. It gives us 40 hours a week of animal control services, and I did put up to because there's certain things like training and vacations, and whenever you have an FTE, you don't truly get 40 hours of dedicated service, but it would be 40 hours of service related to that employee's time. It is a limited commission animal control officer who is sworn in by law enforcement, so they do have the ability to write tickets, to do enforcement, to do licensing compliance, etc. They can walk the park and give a ticket, do all the traditional enforcement stuff. CARES will return to 24/7 emergency response, so 3 o'clock in the morning, you make a call, the CARES bus comes out and deals with the issue at 3 o'clock in the morning. They also will be doing microchipping for a $10 fee, so both in their shelter as well as anything out and about, they will do $10 microchipping for any animal. That's advantageous to everybody because we have the ability in the police department to also read microchips, so we can save the call. If we can read the microchip, identify the animal's owner, we can return an animal home as well. So the more animals we microchip, the better off we are. Shameless plug for microchipping there. They will do 2 days at the farmer's market, both explaining animal control services, working on licensing, and doing microchipping. So they'll support the overall program around getting animals home and licensed. And then we will have 5 sheltering options a month. It will be animal control officer and PD only. There is not capacity right now at CARES to do a public drop-off shelter. In calling around and looking at the other options in our region, full transparency, that option is limited in its best case scenario right now in the entire region. I did check with RASC. They were at capacity the other day, King County Regional Animal Shelter. They were at capacity the other day. I've looked at some of the other private shelters. Most of them are at capacity at all times right now. Part of this is a byproduct of COVID. Lots of animals during COVID, lots of overpopulation, lots of people adopting animals. We didn't realize that there's a long-term responsibility with that, which has resulted in a lot of animals in the system, more so than we have capacity or willing adopters of animals. And I'm not an animal expert, but that's what they told me to say. I do have option 2.5 in here, which is kind of a continuation of the previous option. CARES is looking at doing an expansion of their shelter in the first quarter of 2026, at which point in time they will actually have capacity to look at taking on more of a traditional full role, full sheltering option. So this option is to negotiate with them once their shelter is open and they have capacity to do a traditional drop-off for stray and surrendered animals to go back into doing the system for which they take an animal in and work to get that animal adopted out, and they take on that role and responsibility. It would reinstate community drop-off, so a community member has an animal, they can take it into the shelter and turn it in, or if they locate an animal, they can take it to the shelter. And then it would be unlimited requests as well from ACO and PD for sheltering requests. So it would give me an unlimited access to sheltering if I made a request for it as well. So option 3 is to go back to the way we used to do it, the in-house model. In this case, we would add an FTE. We'd send them to the Animal Control Academy every March. The state runs an Animal Control Academy, so we would add a limited commission FTE to the police department. There are a lot of startup costs with this as far as getting the vehicle and the training on board, but after that we'd be looking at FTE costs. We'd be looking at a contract for a vet. You have to provide medical services to an animal in your care. We would have to figure out the shelter and boarding components, so we likely still would have to do some element of a contract for sheltering. And I probably should have an asterisk on that. That goes back to the same warning of the other one, that this is actually a very difficult thing in our system right now to identify locations for sheltering. And then we would have some overtime costs, et cetera, for call-out, because we have to figure out a 24/7 response. If we only have one person doing the work, somebody has to come out at 3 o'clock in the morning and assist if it's specific to animal control or specialized skills related to animal control, confinement, et cetera. The advantage of this model is they work for us. We have full control over them versus a contract employee. We have some influence over, but they have their own policies. And certainly it gives us the ability to have some flexibility with that position to use it for other things as we need related to surge or other projects that we're working on as a city or a police department. The other thing is I have heard that there's some interest in why don't we do our own regional model. Certainly that's something that we can look into and have a discussion on. It requires that we have willing partners and that it makes sense for everybody. There is some regional model in North Pierce County. Some of the small cities down there have done a regional model. We reached out and talked to their chiefs a little bit about that, so I have a little bit of understanding of how it's working. But if that's something that we want to do, that would be a long-term plan, but it's something we could start working towards, looking at are their partners' willingness and what does it look like to build your own shelter and your own animal control program. And then option 4, this kind of the equivalent to going that all-inclusive resort where absolutely everything is provided for you and you just show up and put your feet up and they do it all. That's what RASC is. RASC fundamentally does they don't a la carte anything. They provide 100% of your animal control services the King County way with King County staff. We have very little control and influence over the model, but they do it all. So it's the most expensive option. It also is, like, from my perspective as your chief, it's the easiest option. You just hand it over to somebody else, and fundamentally you have very little responsibility for the work. So that is option 4. We did get a bid from them. It was $237,000, give or take. that did include offsetting with revenues from licensing. So that's actually the city's general fund cost would be about $240 after licensing is deducted out of the cost structure. And with that, staff recommendation is to expand the CARES contract for the next couple of years. It is also my recommendation that we do look at expanding the sheltering contract when and if there's space available at CARES to get back to a full services model like we used to have. I do think one of the things I hear a lot from people is a request that CARES provides us regular data and a better understanding. In talking to the executive director at CARES, she is very willing to provide data. She also is very willing to do an annual presentation to council, so it's very transparent what we're getting in exchange for that contract. And quite frankly, better for her to be doing the presentation than me, third party, doing it in a lot of cases, because I'm not an animal control expert by any stretch. And tonight, really what we're looking back at is feedback and questions. If you are supportive of the staff recommended option, we can get that contract back to you at a future council meeting this month. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Option 2.5.
Yes, sir.
Is there an extra cost involved once CARES expands their shelter and can take on more?
Absolutely. So we were previously paying them about $110,000 a year. That was our contract with them prior to the budget cuts. That was a full services contract, so it's likely going to be a negotiation from there. And I don't want to throw numbers out or pre-stage it, but it's probably going to be a number with inflation and cost of services above that number.
And that decision point is somewhere out in the future.
That would be, we would come back to you once they get their remodel done and they know what kind of capacity we have, then we can actually negotiate the terms of what we want to expand to. Is it full services? Do we want to expand to 3 beds a night? How do we want to look at that? What's that cost structure? And then I can bring back those options once they have that capacity in place.
And presumably at that point we would have data.
We would have what?
We would have data in order to understand what our needs are.
Yeah. The data that we're not going to have just because we know it doesn't exist is how many animals do people just want to drop off? We don't know that number. That number used to be somewhere in the, if I remember right, it was 200 and some animals in the previous year were turned in to CARES when we last had a full services contract. What I don't know is, as we move back in this model, what is that number? And depending on what social media tells you, it's somewhere between 5 and 1 million. I don't know the answer.
Sounds like an accurate.
Yeah, my Facebook analysis says it's somewhere in the general vicinity of that.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work that you've obviously put into this presentation, and it sounds like some of those options in 3 and 4 are just, they're not immediate solutions for something that is a daily issue that has come sort of confronted us on a daily basis with either lost pets or pets that need to be surrendered for various reasons. So I appreciate that. And we don't know how much 2.5 will cost, but we can put sort of you're looking for like, either do we need a decision point now on whether or not we want to do that, or are you going to come back and ask us again?
I think it was really just, I think we're looking really for direction on option 2.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do that or not? And I think we wanted to make you aware of 2.5, right?
Sure.
In case that helps shape how you view NIC.
Right, yeah, okay. Thank you for that clarification. What I am wondering is that because this was something on the chopping block because of our budget cuts, are we finding new places that we move this money into because of other efficiencies, or are we, and we know that we haven't replaced the money in total, the difference, which is about $60,000 with our pet licensing. So how stable is this service going to be?
That's a great question. So as you all know, the council has had many discussions about the public safety sales tax. In fact, that's the next item. I've been keeping you very briefed on that. So we have received the okay from the Department of Revenue. They will begin collecting those revenues in January and distributing them to the cities. The challenge is that sort of part 2 to the approval, which is kind of all the requirements for police departments to fulfill per CJTC. So we are like, so far, every other city in the state of Washington, in that our application has been rejected. but we have a solid list of what CJTC would like to see. So what does that mean to your question, right? What are we doing with this? A couple things. One, I think Chief Bowe and I are looking for some direction on this now because CARES needs time to ramp up. So if we were to bring you a contract next week, it actually wouldn't be active until April. That allows CARES some time to ramp up and be prepared. It also allows us time to hopefully get everything buttoned up with CJTC. If that does not happen, so let's say we get to late February and we're still in purgatory. What we would do is bring that item back to council with some options. Either we can cancel CARES and say it didn't work out. There's a 60-day, I think we've talked about a 60-day notice for cancellation. And then, or other options we would bring you are where we would pull that money from elsewhere, which does mean cutting something else. Does that answer the question for you?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
So we're using all 5 calls every month? Yes, no? I mean, in the 20 grand plan?
In the current model? No, we're not. And I want to give you a little caveat on that. Part of the reason we're not using it is because I don't want to be getting to the $75 per call. So we are probably taking calls in law enforcement right now that we should be giving to animal control, but instead we're taking them on the patrol side to make sure that when we get to the end of the month, I don't have a major thing like a dog bite that's going to be a 1,000-hour call sitting out there, and I have none of my free ones left. So I am intentionally keeping us at about 3 a month so that I have the capacity later in the month without going over.
So the other thing is, is there any, do you have any kind of, numbers on how many calls you're getting on animals that you can't fulfill, or that you're referring people over to, take the animal into Burien themselves? Or I'm just trying to get some sense of, in other words, the Facebook thing you mentioned I think you said between 5 and 1 million. I'm trying to ask, how many phone calls are you actually fielding, or whatever that.
So I can give you the actual dispatch number. I'll have to look them up. It's interesting. I know you're a data scientist. So right now we're trying to pull the null, right? We're trying to pull the unknown, and it's a hard thing to do in that we have to make a bunch of assumptions to get to that data point. And I can give you a data point that actually is 5 or 500, depending on how I make assumptions, right? I could look at different data points and really have an inaccurate number. I think the more fair thing to say is we knew the number was about 200 calls in 2023 for animals that were taken to care or that CARES was responsible for that were saying they were from Des Moines. I don't know if they were, they weren't. They were claiming they were from Des Moines when they were engaging CARES in a service request. That probably is the most accurate information I can give you about that. And CARES was doing about 25 to 30 criminal investigations at that time in the city. So probably the best data point I can give you is the data from 2024 before we downgraded the contract.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that most of this discussion has been essentially dropping off animals. And that's the vibe that I'm getting. I don't want to read it, but I mean, how much of it is people calling for other animal type stuff? And does that make sense?
Chief, can you kind of
is
connect
that
the
the
capacity in those calls?
Yeah, so, and I want to connect now on another one too, because some of these are really complex investigations that we've had a couple of these come up that you all have been involved in, like a cat hoarder type event. That is a traditional animal control type call that takes a massive amount of times to rehome 30, 40, 50 cats that somebody has taken into a home. And with that involves a big piece of work tied to the court and tied to code enforcement. So like an investigation like that, right now, we actually gave most of that to our code enforcement officer, which took up a large portion of his time. That would be something that traditionally would be a massive investigation that would hand over to ACO, and we just would deal with the small portion related to an eviction or related to the code enforcement. So that's an example of how that would look.
3 hours a week sounds about right, is what your just effort, because it's going to be some days at 3 a.m. and some days at 2 in the afternoon, and they're just sort of, they're an à la carte kind of thing. Somebody calls and they can.
Yes, and also having the capacity to work on things like licensing, the capacity to work things like lease violations in the park, the capacity to do things like farmers market. Those are a piece that right now doesn't exist in your current model because we don't have any proactive services animal control. We're 100% responsive
Okay.
to those 25 to 30 calls a month.
You're being very generous. Last but not least, a large, I mean, frankly, a large part of our previously good pet licensing was just that the ACO did a lot of the mailing, and so is there any opportunity for CARES to help us with getting more people into the DocuPet system? Just asking if that's something to think about.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've worked out with CARES in our discussions with them is that part of their responsibility will be whenever they engage with an animal, that animal is not released until such a point in time as you prove licensing, so that we aren't doing the repeated game, which also goes that how do you try to make this better so you don't have 500 animals, then next year it's 300 animals, and next year we're only dealing with 100 animals, is through this program around using your animal control when you have problem animals to focus on licensing and focus on microchipping. So theoretically, animal control actually in some ways solves your lost pet problem by the way they deal with those calls. And right now we don't have that available. We're very crisis response on animal control as it stands.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Moving down the line, questions? Councilmember Oxiger?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I believe I heard that Federal Way was with Pierce County Humane Society, and they've dropped that contract, and they're now with CARES, Burien CARES.
That's correct.
Federal Way.
I spoke with them.
Yes.
Okay. And do we know who else in the area is with Burien CARES?
I imagine the city of Burien.
It's City of Burien and Federal Way, I think, are the only two. I think everybody else is with either RASC or one of the other.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions up on the screen, gentlemen? Okay. Double checking, so just to reiterate, do you like these terms? Do you have feedback? So are you looking for a favorite here, Chief?
Yeah, a favorite, a nod, a thumbs up, something gives me a signal to make this contract come back to you exactly 7 days from now on a
so all of you, are you in favor of directing the chief to move forward with this Burien CARES contract with the idea that maybe 2.5 will come forward? Okay,
yes.
Deputy Mayor, okay,
Yes.
yes. Yes, okay, looks like you got lots of nods. Thank you, Chief. Excellent, great answers. Okay. Next up is our Public Safety Sales Tax Fund. Well, this is our first reading. The purpose of this item is to consider public safety funds and the disposition of certain public safety revenue. And our presentation will be from our Finance Director, Jeff Wren.
Good evening again. This will be a short two-slide presentation. So the Public Safety Sales Tax Fund, so for some background, this year the state legislature passed ESHB 2015, which allows local governments to increase sales tax by 0.01%, provided those funds go to support public safety. On October 9th, the council approved increasing sales tax by that amount. During the discussion, it was brought up that we can account for that in a separate fund that is separate from the general fund. Specifically, it would be a special revenue fund. That is a fund where the revenue is restricted to be expended for certain purposes, as is the case here. It would be restricted to public safety expenditures. And also, it was brought up that maybe the city can also place additional restrictions over and above how the state has restricted the expenditures of those funds. And the spending parameters of the funds, funds must be used solely for public safety purposes. Under the amended RCW, these are those specific purposes, which would be law enforcement, fire protection and emergency medical services, criminal justice functions, behavioral health services, domestic violence programs, youth violence prevention and diversion programs, and community safety programs. And I do want to add, what the ordinance does is, that we have as a part of this, is we created a public safety levy fund when the levy lid lift was on the ballot. The levy lid lift did not pass. So we have a fund that is in the part of the code that we did create that is not being used. And we basically would take that fund and repurpose it to receive the revenue and from the sales tax and account for the expenditures. And that is the motion.
Thank you. All right, before the motion, any questions? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
In terms of the last slide, Jeff, is there anything on this list that is not included in the fund that we created, or are they concurrent?
I have to think back to the levy lid lift. I think I would say these are more specific. I think we had a broader definition as part of the levy lid lift, though we had said that we'd use it for specific purposes that we were going to account for. But I think as far as the ordinance goes, I think the definition was broader than these items.
Okay, because just going off my memory, which is far from perfect, I don't remember fire protection and EMS services and youth violence prevention and diversion services or community safety programs being included in that fund.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, it's in on page 5 of let's see, page 2 of the ordinance in your packet. But, so we have to limit the expenditure of the funds in accordance with state law. But then this fund also further restricts them for the purpose of maintaining and increasing existing public safety service levels, including retaining police officer positions and increasing public safety and police staffing. So I think if you were to pass this, we wouldn't be, the fire protection and that kind of stuff wouldn't be eligible expenses. Not that the council would necessarily spend it on that, but it gets further restricted in the definition here in this ordinance.
Would it, I'm sorry if I may, but would it also exclude the GPS officer as behavioral health services?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, you look at, yeah, I mean, if you're saying that increases public safety service levels, I think that's really the question there, is that I think we would interpret that to say that would include the GPS officer, that would include animal control, public defender, that kind of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. This is just an accounting thing. It's a separate fund, but will you be able, if the council wanted to, will each of these potential purposes like GPS moniker or whatever be coded such that we could get an audit trail of each of the uses? Because they are kind of separate, even though all worthy.
Right, yeah, so each fund has its own fund number, so this would be Fund 112, and so every transaction that's funded with this revenue would be captured in that fund, and then we could always drill down into the transaction detail of those items.
I mean, like, yeah, that's answered. Thank you.
Okay. Council members Mahoney and Nutting, any questions? All right, going back, Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm wanting to make sure I heard you right correctly, City Attorney, that you think the new language, Section 1, Part 3, revenue received is restricted for the use of funding, and it goes on to say, by increasing existing public safety service levels. So we feel like the CARES contract would fit under that language, and we don't need to list all of these things.
Those things are from the statute. So those would be addressed in Section 2.
Okay, great.
But yes, 3 further limits that, and we would interpret public safety service levels to include CARES, to include the public defender, to include the GPS officer.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Looking down the line again, any further questions before the motion? All right, do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, would you like to make the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I move to forward draft ordinance number 25-105, amending the Des Moines Municipal Code 3.51.103 to repurpose the Public Safety Levy Fund as the Public Safety Sales Tax Fund to a second reading.
Do I have a second? Second with Councilmember Grace Matsui. Any discussion? Councilmember Mahoney.
Thank you, Mayor. I support this, but I still want to remind the council and the public that this is only 13% of what I thought was a fairly assessed amount on the levy. We still need 6 officers to get to the state average, which is 51st in the country still. We still need police equipment. We still need additions to our court system, and we still need SCORE, additional funding. And so this is just a beginning of what we really need to ensure the safety. We made this a priority, one of the top 3, and I just want to remind everybody that there's a lot of work to do. And right now our officers are working very hard, overtime, thinly staffed, and that's a problem. And we need to keep this as a priority and on the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I'd agree that this is not a panacea to solve all of our criminal justice funding issues at this point, but this is something that we can do. This is something that is very necessary that we do in order to take that another step forward, because we're trying to address these issues, and this is what we can do. So I would support this.
Any comments? Personally, I particularly appreciate the flexibility this creates for future councils and how they would like to spend this revenue. It allows greater responsiveness to emerging needs at any given time, and I appreciate just the fund being responsive to the community desire, as it was even with Prop 1, which didn't pass, but I appreciate our ability to do this. So, all right, with no further comments, all right, all in favor, raise your right hand, and it's unanimous. Right, motion passes. Excellent, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Jeff. I was like, oh, it was supposed to be the chief.
Chief Financial Officer.
Yes, there we go. All right, we're coming down to the end here. So now we're on to new items for consideration. It's a time for proposing new business items for discussion on a future agenda. Any recommendations? We'll simply need a nod from 3 council members. Do any council members have new business they would like to propose? Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, I'd like to propose that we consider adding, amending the TIP to include last mile exploration and implementation.
Okay, so do we have 3 nods to bring that forward on a future agenda item? Okay, we do. So, noted. And yes, sir.
Back again.
Okay.
I would also like to have future council consideration of exploring interest with our neighboring cities about a joint animal control, regional animal control, similar to how we do with SCORE.
Okay, and I wasn't sure. I think the chief mentioned that would be in the future, but do we need an agenda item for that? Would you like?
want to get direction, and I think what I would ask is, and we could talk offline if you'd like, but if we could work through a contract for now, and
right.
But I can put it on the list and maybe give
right.
you a little time. Okay.
Future agenda item. Okay, do we have 3 nods for that moving forward? I would be in favor of that. Okay, looks like we do. All right. Any more?
I will shut up now.
All right. Great. So the council will now dismiss to executive session under RCW 42.30.110(1)I for the purpose of discussing pending litigation. And I did not make a note as to how long this will be.
It's 10 minutes.
The session is expected to last for 10 minutes, and so we will resume at 8:35.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right, thanks. See you later.
extend the executive session for 5 more minutes to last until 8:40.
my mind.
Oh, yeah, you want, I know you practiced.
I'm geared up and ready.
Come on, Harry, excellent. Councilmember Mahoney. I know, I'm trying to think, yeah. I think most everything I
can't. Thanks for reelecting me.
Oh, my gosh. Council meeting is now back in session. We have one more item left. It's our council member reports before we adjourn, and so we'll start with Councilmember Mahoney.
I made it in time. Thank you, Mayor. I'm very sorry to the public that I could not attend in person today. I had a recent death of my stepfather, and I'm attending to affairs. So that being said, I was unable to attend two events that I look forward to, which was the Tenant Appreciation Night for Scott. I hope it went well. And unfortunately, something that I've been lobbying for since I've been on council, and even before when I was a volunteer for Destination Des Moines, was to bring the tree lighting down to the marina where it's safer. A long story short, one year we were using snowmaking, and had I not grabbed a young child by the collar, he probably would have been a fatality. Unfortunately, it's great to have the lighting, and we're going to do that. But for the children that attend the event, they get jacked and they're all excited, and it's just a dangerous place. There's just too much traffic there. Our gathering point is going to be the marina, and this starts that process. I can only imagine what it's going to be next year when the steps are done, and they'll be such a great asset for the community. It'll be a great gathering point. Obviously, I want to encourage the public to go to it, have a wonderful time, provide feedback of how it can be better to Destination Des Moines and the city. And I just want to thank all the staff that's putting it on. I know Scott and Bonnie, you're champions in this, and Destination Des Moines and the other partnerships that are going on. And I just want to wish everybody a great tree lighting. And I'll be there in spirit, but unfortunately, I still have matters to attend to, and I cannot be there. So I just want to thank you all, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Matt. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers are with you. Sorry about that. Next up, Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I do hope to see much of the community come out and see the tree lighting, or perhaps at our town hall meeting that I know someone else will talk about with more detail. I also remind folks that we have Burning Boat coming up on December 31st in conjunction with Rotary. Tickets are on sale now, and go to a great cause in supporting parks and recreation opportunities for young people here at the city. Like some other folks here, and that might get mentioned one or two more times, we did get to attend the sneak peek of the new light rail that was afforded to us last night. And gosh, I didn't know how many people to expect, but they invited way more than I thought were going to be there. And I think that there was just a general palpable sense of excitement from places as far away as Auburn. City council members and other staff from our neighboring cities like Kent and Burien were there, folks from Highline College, of course, many folks who are current and past board members from Sound Transit to help show off basically the new stations at Kent Des Moines, Star Lake, and Federal Way downtown. It was a great time. I think it was a really great showcase for those brand new stations, and also there's a lot of parking available. It just so happens that they connect with existing park and rides, and so it's really going to be an aid for folks who are trying to connect to points north when going to the light rail. I think on the way out, I overheard someone say, everyone is excited for new trains. And I was like, that is so true. It was really like a smile on everyone's face. And so I hope that folks come out this Saturday, sometime after, I think, noon. It's going to be open to the public. You can hop your first ride and check out those new stations.
Celebration begins at 11:30 here.
Oh, right.
Kent Des Moines.
At Kent Des Moines, you can come to the official ribbon cutting at 11:30. Thank you.
Council member I'm going to go to Council Member Nutting next.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Harris.
Thank you. On the 19th, I attended the last Regional Transit Committee meeting of the year, and that's where we, essentially gave our final letter concerning the Metro budget. As I said, the Metro is it's a vast empire, and it's everything from ferries, water taxi, and so forth. It's all transit. And I appreciate Councilmember Oxier for getting, adding a new item to the tip, because it really is a zero-sum game. I also met with, I have a sort of an annual meeting with Josh Brown and PSRC, and I attended the light rail preview and had a couple of conversations with other planners. Yeah, it is good to go early, just if you're sort of a geek, because it's amazing when there's nobody on it. I mean, you realize just how it's so smooth and everything. Once you get tens of thousands of people on it, it's a train, it bumps and it rattles and it stops and everything, but it's just, it's a marvelous piece of engineering. And a couple of our staff members were present, Laura Chico, and you have no idea how much energy the city has put into that thing. And the little properties along there, and I just see that as the future, basically the second hub of the city. It's just, it should be an axis that so many different positive things flow around. And I guess, look, I can't tell you what that's the potential I see. One last thing, I attended the Des Moines Historical Society, and wouldn't you know it, they had a presentation from the Port of Seattle on their version of airport history, and it's a very lovely story as they tell it, and I really appreciate them doing it. And I mean that sincerely, because they have a very positive story to tell for King County writ large, but it's one of those things where it reminds me of somebody having a farm. It sounds idyllic and romantic when you have a couple hundred pigs and sheep and so forth, and then all of a sudden it becomes 200,000 and it's a CAFO, and but people still kind of think of it as this romance. But they're always very kind to talk to me, and we had a lot of good public stuff. I like the Historical Society because it's like the best of what I recall of Des Moines. It's this small meeting thing, 50 people or so, and it's a beautiful space, and I love the fact that the city continues to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, Saturday morning, I believe it's 9:30 is the official ribbon cutting at Federal Way. And then it will come down, the train will bring people back then to first Star Lake, and then to, I believe it's at 10:30 is the start at the station up here. And there's going to be all kinds of activities for kids to participate in. It's Legacy and the Pool District, and I believe Highline College are sponsoring the events that are going on at the Kent Des Moines station. And everybody's invited, and it should be exciting. And it's going to be a busy Saturday.
Yes.
Because then, of course, the tree lighting is at 5:30 to 7:30, so, whew. So anyway, that's my report.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, oh, and I do want to say that, so, Seattle Southside had a formal ceremony in the middle of that, so there's lots of festivities begin at 10:30, and their deal is at 11:30. They moved it because of the conjunction, the crisscross of schedules with the Federal Way event, so they moved theirs back a little bit. But yeah, so 10:30 for fun stuff, 11:30 for remarks and ribbon cutting. Okay, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I just, when I was talking about the SCA event from last night, I was remiss to point out that the newly elected executive for King County, Gramai Zale, was there and gave some really just wonderful remarks about his commitment to working with all of the cities in Kane County, and it was very nice. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the tree lighting. I hope we see a lot of people up at the light rail station at the kickoff in Federal Way, and then up here at 11:30. And then there are just a host of events coming up after that. So should be busy, but that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I also appreciated hearing Gramai and his swearing in and then last night. And one of the things that he said that's most impressive to me is he's got these 4 Bs that he kind of adheres to for his like overall purpose and vision, and one of them is boots on the ground. And there is no doubt in my mind that that guy is going to be boots on the ground, and it's not lip service for him. And I appreciate him a lot for that, and I'm looking forward to seeing him out there in the community. I attended Squid-A-Rama, which was always great, and it was great again this year. They had a little earlier in the day, so parents weren't standing out in the dark and the cold with their kids as much. But it was great. Hands-on coloring, dissections, touching animals. I brought my granddaughter. She had a blast, and she's only 3. But older kids had fun, too. SCA has already been covered. Sound Transit, that was fantastic. Loved it. I attended the PSRC Executive Board meeting today, and a lot of talk about the Regional Transportation Plan. I just wanted to say, as far as what we might be concerned or interested in, there's an emphasis on maintenance and expansion. So 60% on maintenance, the rest is on expansion, and that expansion will include 116 miles of rail, light rail, doubling bus rapid transit, which we have right up here on Highway 99, and 90% increase in transit hours. So that's what they're planning for transportation in King County. I understood, and maybe you heard a little bit more, Councilmember Harris, nobody has mentioned that the Historical Society is having an open house at the Oddfellows Hall on Saturday, also from 1 to 4. Did anybody else hear that? Because I don't want to put it out there. It's not. Yeah, you haven't heard? Okay. I didn't say that. They will. Okay, then I don't take it back. So 1 to 4. That's all I have. So this concludes our meeting for this evening. The next meeting date will be a regular City Council business meeting on December 11th at 2025. I could say pick up after yourself, but I think we're all good. And Deputy Mayor, do we have a motion? Did you practice?
I move to adjourn.
Second, motion second. All in favor? It's unanimous. We are adjourned.
Wow, before 9, I
I know.
Look at that. Thanks for
Did not
tuning in,
expect
you
that.
guys.
I didn't either.
Appreciate you.
I was figuring it was 10 to 10.